Welcome to Playday 4 of the Canada Division. Today, Mirage versus Altiora, and the winner of this matchup advances to the NA Major Qualifier. So a lot on the line there. Very excited to be here. I'm Jackie Jing, and you just saw Kickstar waving. We got Antero in the house as well. How y'all feeling this Friday? Antero, you practicing guitar right before this big matchup, I heard.
Yeah, I bought a guitar yesterday, so I haven't exactly had the most chance to play it yet because I had errands and all that jazz, and I got home super late, but I might be noodling between the matches during the breaks.
Oh, okay. Well, are you gonna... I was gonna say serenade us, but that's definitely not the right verb.
No, you don't want to hear me sing.
Are you gonna play for us?
Maybe.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe. Okay.
Well, maybe we'll see that. Kickstar, do you play any instruments? I don't think I've ever asked you that before.
Nope, I don't play any instruments. My family tried to teach me piano, but I was too young, and I kind of ignored those lessons. And now I kind of want to, but I just don't have time.
Aww.
So
yeah. Real talk, I hear you. Bummer. I was hoping maybe we could put on a production for our audience watching. But you know what? I'm sure that they want to see some matches, so we will get right to that in a little bit. But first, we have a quick word from our sponsors. All right, now let's take a look at our bracket. And like we told you at the top of the show, Mirage versus Altiora today. Mirage defeated Nordic and Altiora beat Livid. So now they're here. And that's basically what our bracket breaks down for y'all. But we're really excited about today's matchup. Like we said at the top of the show, the winner of this matchup advances to the NA Major Qualifier. Super exciting for both of these teams. So you know what? Let's get right to it. I believe that our teams are almost ready. So I'm going to let our casters prep for the matchup, and I will be chatting with y'all a little bit later.
Thank you so much.
And hopefully hearing you play the guitar, Antero, maybe.
Maybe. It's a rare sight. Anyway, take care of yourself, Jackie. Thanks for stopping in. Let's get the discussion underway with this matchup, Michael. Mirage and Altiora with the spot at the NA qualifier on the line. Now, this is just a spot to get into the qualifier at which you'll compete against 3 US division teams, and then the winner of that matchup of all those 4 teams ends up getting the final spot to the NA Major. Now, if we look at a team like Altiora, where do you set your expectations with them? They struggled a little bit, not a little bit, but it wasn't a quick match against Livid, and then Livid got absolutely destroyed by Nordic, who Mirage ended up beating. How exactly do you expect these two teams to stack up?
To be perfectly blunt, Parker, I definitely expect Mirage to have an advantage. Going into this, we haven't seen these teams play against each other, obviously, so there's plenty of room for that upset to come in. But based on the performance of Mirage versus Nordic and Altiora versus Livid, it seems pretty clear-cut that Mirage is going into this the team who has it all to lose, because they should have the upper hand. I don't really think there's too much more to elaborate on there. If you've watched the 2 matches, Mirage versus Nordic, Altiora versus Livid, and then you watch Nordic versus Livid as well, I think you'd be on the same page as me here.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought process. My mood as well is that Mirage is coming into this as the clear favorite. But I mean, don't count out any of these teams. Altiora proved that they're capable of winning their matches and their rounds. And maybe they weren't exactly trying their hardest against Livid. Maybe they were sandbagging a little bit. Maybe they thought that there was potential for them to go up against Mirage, and that if they can get past Livid without giving too much away, they can bring the big guns for Mirage. But before we get into the match, let's look at the maps, because obviously the maps are going to play a pretty crucial aspect of how these teams stack up. So we'll bring the veto system up on the screen in just a second for you, and we'll see exactly where they go.
I do vividly recall, I think it was Altiora, after they beat Livid in their post-match interview, saying that their match versus Mirage would be easy, I want to say it was them. It's hard to, I want to exactly put words in their mouth, but that is my recollection. And if that is the case, then, there's plenty of room for that upset. We talked about how much room there is just because these teams haven't matched up against each other yet, so that's worth keeping in mind as well. Now, we've got the ban phase or the veto system up, and we're going to be starting with Oregon for our map number 1. Now, this was played by Mirage and Altiora both. Actually, both of these teams almost won this. They both got 7 rounds. Altiora managed to beat Livid. Mirage lost this one to Nordic 8-7. So it was a definite bar burner of a map. As the second one will be Villa. This is one that's comfortable for Mirage. They did manage to beat Nordic on it. As for Altiora, they haven't played it as of late.
Yeah, 7-3 was the scoreline on that Villa matchup in Cafe. So, hey, I mean, if you're Mirage, you're probably pretty happy with this. This is the exact same set of maps that Mirage played against Nordic on. So maybe Mirage is worried about getting counter-stratted. Who knows if they've been able to come up with anything new. Altiora, they've got their, they got their hands full from a coaching and IGLing perspective, because here you have a matchup against a team where you get to play on the maps that you've already seen Mirage play on. This is going to be a great test of how Nordic stacks up versus Altiora. Now, we're going in saying that we believe Mirage to be the favorite. Fair enough. We could be easily proven wrong. We could be proven wrong quite quickly as well, depending on what happens in the first couple rounds of Oregon. But I don't know. Do you consider this a victory for Mirage, given that they're going back to the 3 maps they played against Nordic on, or do you consider it a victory for Altiora because they get to play on the maps that they already know Mirage has played on?
So 2 things. Thing number 1, conventionally, I would consider this a victory for Altiora, just because they have a ton of data on Mirage, right? As you said, these are the exact maps that Mirage had to play on in order to beat Nordic in their first play day. So the expectation is you'd see Altiora do a bunch of research and you'll study up. And I do think that has happened, but I don't know if it's going to be as meaningful as we're used to that being. So my second thing is I want to harken back to what I was talking about last time we were at the Canadian division. At this level of experience, typically you tend to ban maps for yourself. You don't try to set up some crazy left hook that's going to catch your enemy off guard and get you an advantage on a map they didn't expect through the ban phase. You're banning for comfort, for your own team, for where we want to find ourselves. So the fact that Mirage's ban phase went the same exact way that it did in Nordic this second time around, I think that's just both teams trying to find themselves where they're comfortable. I think there might have been some, plan maybe for Altiora, and they might have done some research on those maps. I don't know if it's really going to disrupt the expectations too much.
Well, we've almost got everybody in the lobby, and we'll be able to get into this one pretty quick. Mirage is starting on defense on all of these maps as well. Very interesting place that we find ourselves in, unless, of course, my note keeping is wrong here. But I guess kind of advantageous to a certain extent. Mirage has also had a lot, not a lot more time off, but Mirage has had a lot of time off, right? They've had 2 weeks off now. Altiora has had 1.
It's true.
If I'm Mirage, that gives me plenty of time to come up with new strats, to tinker with the things that have already been shown. When you look at the map pool that was played, Mirage has only got 3 maps so far on film. Same with Altiora. Cafe and Oregon are going to be 2 very often picked maps. Villa maybe not so much, but with the way we've seen Oregon so far in North America, Oregon is going to be one of the most picked maps. You have to kind of tinker with things, and even the meta that we saw way back, 3-4 weeks ago when Mirage played their game against Nordic, we've already seen Oregon shift quite a lot. Teams were taking blue quite aggressively. Teams were trying to head down from the main stairs into the front of laundry. Now we've seen more focus on freezer. Now we've seen more focus on pillar. We've seen more focus on getting the hatch open and meeting and dropping box. And not necessarily so much in bunker, as teams are still stacking up their Wamai and Jaeger gadgets in there, but not to the same extent. So already there have been some changes that have been made, and this will obviously benefit Mirage. Even if there is footage on them, they have surely taken the time to make some changes and come at it from a position where they're going to be ready for whatever Altiora brings. And on Oregon, Altiora was the better team. They were able to put away Livid faster than Mirage was against Nordic. Mirage lost to Nordic first, and I like that you pointed out that both teams got 7 rounds. The only problem was that Nordic got 8, which is what defeated Mirage. So if we just look at Oregon on its own, one of the reasons why Mirage was able to stay so close last time was because not loading was as good as he was. There were some pretty rough performances from some of the members of Mirage. They're going to need to wake up really quickly because you know that there's good guns on Altiora's side. All of those things, I think, play together to make a very unpredictable Oregon, where we can't really look at a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago when both these teams played this map and say, hey, we've got a pretty good idea of what's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's reinforcing the fact that Oregon is by itself already unpredictable. You know, we've got a map that technically is really new to competitive Siege. A lot of people ask me, like, hey, why do comp teams not like to play on border anymore? Or some teams don't like bank, for example. And a big part of that is how played out the maps can become. Sometimes you get a map to a point where it's just like you're bashing your head against the same wall. You know, it's the same strategy. It's over and over, repeat. And sometimes you get to a point also in the meta where that's been so fully explored that the expected result is almost always the result. So when they become fully explored, they become rigid maps. And Oregon is on the opposite end of the scale from that. It's so new and fresh that, first of all, generally speaking, that's going to cause it to garner a lot of love. And it does in the competitive community. And second of all, you'll get a lot of diversity, and there's a lot of interesting things we can get from Oregon. But that's just Oregon. Our second map, when we get to it, and we will, is going to be Villa, which is another really exciting map. And I think that Villa is the type of map that's like in the middle of its lifespan, and is still really comfortable for a lot of squads. We still see a lot of changes come up on Villa. I'm noticing a lot more recently that we're having the bottom floor, the basement, for example, factored into the round more often than we did when it first came out. And I find that personally very interesting. Usually that roam on that bottom floor will actually be a big part of the outcome of the round and thus the match. And, you know, the roam hunt, of course, that follows it. We're seeing a lot less focus on the same hard destruction as when Villa first came out. Of course, Mira's being left in play, and we're not seeing her played on Villa all that often. And that's really interesting because, I mean, if you recall, when Villa first came out, there were a lot of Mira strats that were integral to how the map was played. So I personally find that really different, and I like the changes that we're seeing with that. The hard destruction being a big factor. Maverick's been brought into play. We usually see a Thatcher ban on Villa. A lot of these things are different than what it once was, like I said. For those of you wondering, we are not just talking to talk here. We are waiting for one more player to get into the lobby, and then we should be able to get everything started up. But it's not in our hands.
If you look back as well to when both these matches were played by these teams, when Altiora played against Livid and Mirage played against Nordic, Echo was soft banned. The defensive operator bans at the time were not exactly diverse. We saw a Wamai and a Kaid ban. The rest were pretty standard. Valkyrie and Mira being banned every single map, which is something that, you know, we might not actually see this time, because if Echo does end up getting banned out, Mira might sneak in under the radar, especially if there's a Valk ban on Oregon, if there's a Valk ban on Cafe, if they take out a Kaid again on Cafe, which was Mirage's ban here. We don't know exactly what Villa and Cafe will play like for Altiora because they haven't played it yet, right? They got very lucky here. They got very smart, presumably because they didn't pick maps that Mirage could counterstrat them on. So there's speculation abound, but the Echo soft ban obviously changed up that ban diversity, as you point out. And watching how the teams are going to respond to that now that he's available, whether they actually use a ban on taking care of Echo, whether they ban Mira and Echo, etc., that's going to be the question that I'm going to want answered, and maybe there won't be any movement. Who knows? Well, we've got everybody in the lobby, and we'll get things underway. Thank you so much for your patience. We'll start off with our very first map here. Between Mirage and Altiora, the winner of this contest will advance to the North American qualifiers and go up against the 4th, 5th, and 6th placed US Division teams for a spot at the NA Major later in the fall.
All right. Band phase starts out, and it's Maverick. So, fingers crossed that this next one's not a Thatcher. That will make the attacking side have to struggle to open up pretty much anything. And you can see Altiora is really thinking about it. They are deliberating on that one. Should we ban Thatcher or not? And no, they're going to take a little bit of a left turn, and I'm happy for it. they will get rid of Kali. So that means you will see Thatcher every single round, as he has now become an essential function. You've lost the Maverick and the Kali here, the two other operators that can assist you in getting rid of Electrocause, batteries, or mute jammers on the other side of hard walls.
And if you watch the matchup between Mirage and Nordic, you know how good not loading is on that Kali operator. Kali was incredibly strong. He used the SMG pistol a ton and did extensive damage with it. So that's not only a direct nerf to what the attackers can bring, as you point out, it will prompt a Thatcher, but it also removes a really good operator that is obviously semi-comfortable for not loading. That's a direct counter towards the team in the way that they play. The other operator bans that come in are a Clash on defense, and her ban rate on Oregon has skyrocketed as of late because she is quite good after all the utility is soaked up, playing on both the dorms bomb site upstairs as well as the laundry supply room down below. And then joining her is Kaid. So Mirror is available as well as Echo. And Mirage had banned out Maverick on Oregon before, and now will ban out Kaid instead of the Mirror this time.
There's a lot of stuff going on with that ban phase. It's very contained. You know, you got the Kali, Maverick, and the Kaid all in the same circle of operators. The Clash is a targeted ban for the map. And then, of course, loading, getting counterbanned directly. Because of the targeted nature of the ban phase, though, you have a lot of operators that are still available for, especially the defense, that typically aren't. In particular, of course, as you can see, loading, or not loading, depending on what you want to call him, is bringing the Mira, and that's going to be, I assume, placed by the dorms. Now, again, we don't see Mira a whole heck of a lot lately, but it has been brought out a few times, so interesting when it does get brought. I'm going to look up the actual stats on that, because I know she still gets banned quite a lot, but she definitely doesn't get played very much. In the U.S. division, she has a overall presence of about 50, almost 60, actually. Oh, sorry, over 60, 67. So that's a pretty influential operator still, but it's 49% bans. So, yeah, not a lot of room there for actual getting picks.
All right, well, this is going to be round number 1 upstairs in the dorms bomb site, and it looks like Mirage are intending to go for that C4 play onto the closet that we've seen quite often in the US division, which is where you shoot open some of the floor, you toss a nitro cell down, it hits the light fixture in classroom down below, and then it kills whoever's trying to get the wall open. Altiora, though, they're not going to be slowed down 45 seconds in, and they've already managed to open up that attic wall. That's good presence, that's good timing, and it's also prompted Mirage to make a small change. There goes a pocket Mira from not loading onto the wall into attic, and he will play with his back to that trophy master wall. It's been castled off, so he's got some security, and if anybody's going to take it quickly, it's going to require an explosive to move him from that spot.
Okay, I like this because obviously Mirage is not going to die on this hill, right? So they've set up with the castle barricade and the mirror window and all that to deny and slow down the attic push, but they're doing that just for delaying purposes because they can peel off of that position at any time. That mirror window is not integral to the actual site defense. It's just used to delay. You can see Altiora is trying to come up the main stairs. They're going to have to confront the castle of Zilchi, who is trying to hold the armory hall for his teammates with his own mirror window. Again, I have to commend this setup. I think it might work. I know that it's effective for delay.
There's a quiet right now between these teams. So very quiet. His gun's down below. He's trying to engage with Zilchi through the hatch that is in the armory side of things upstairs. Also leads to garage, which is where Guns is playing. Zilchi has to be wary of Guns inside of garage because he's got frag grenades at his disposal, and 2 of them actually. Guns could have used one of those, and that might be a missed opportunity, but my guess is that Altiora has an idea of where they're going to go, and it's certainly not onto Zilchi. Some damage being done and a missed opportunity there from loading as he gets taken out from Spirits. That's 2 kills for the Nomad so far, and Altiora in better shape than they were just a couple seconds ago. They'll toss out a gas canister, rather, from the smoke, playing back as close to the bunks as possible as Flynn, and down goes both Shima and Mizio. Back to a 3v3, frag grenade in hand, nice shot from Quartz down below, he takes out Dot. That's the diffuser surrendered upstairs inside of attic. It'll have to be retrieved. Flashbang goes out and Quartz will see the Nomad rush on by, that mirror window still being held by Zilchi. But Zilchi taken out from guns. He creeps up on the white stairs. 1 second left, but Flynn! Who says casters can't play? 2 kills from the smoke, and Mirage takes round number 1.
Big round there for Flynn, and Mirage as a whole. Quartz in particular is my hero for the round, as he not only delayed in the bottom floor, forcing the sledge to relocate from the garage, not allowing him the maneuverability to dislodge the castle and armory, and then later flanking tower. Now, I thought for a second there that Quartz was going to run all the way up the tower stairs and get the double kill inside of Attic with the downed attacker there. And then even get that triple kill, because there was another downed attacker deeper inside of Attic. But that wasn't necessary, and Quartz thought better of it. Of course, there was likely an air jab on the staircase. He probably heard that and thought to himself, no, I could just hold the drop down inside of meeting, which is exactly the right decision with only 20-ish seconds left. Quartz made that decision, held up that meeting drop down, and denied the round to the attack outright. There was no chance after the thermite died through the drop at that point. The round was lost. The only way attack could have won was by rushing into the site and getting the kills, and that just did not happen. Well done to Mirage. Good awareness of not only what they're attempting to do with their setup, but also what the enemy is attempting to do to counter this setup. I really like to see stuff like that.
So the question that is going to need to be answered for me now that we look downstairs. Are we still going to be stuck in this week's old meta where teams try to take this blue bunker portion of the map? Or are Altiora going to invest in meeting hall, take the pillbox above it, or box if you want to call it, which is the hatch that is in meeting room? And is Mirage going to play aggressively by pillars? We might have to wait a little bit, actually, for that question to be answered, though, because it appears that there's going to be a call for a rehost from Dash, and we'll wait for the admin's confirmation. It might come back to us, and we'll see. And then, yes, it is going to come back to us. So, hello. How are you? Nice to see you all. Welcome back.
Yep, so we're just going to, I guess, have the rehost sorted out, and we'll figure out what's going to happen after that. Looks like it's been confirmed. So, figure probably if you want to go grab a glass of water, now's a good time to do that. We're probably going to have about a 5-minute-ish wait until we get the action back underway. Bottom floor was the site, of course, and we'll likely see the site and the operators locked in, so when we come back, it'll be all the same as what we just witnessed. I'm curious to see if it's going to be blue just as you are, Parker. We've been seeing a lot of deviation from that lately, I think, and it's been interesting. I especially like the tower meeting takes that we've been seeing some of, because that facilitates taking pillar, which is a good platform to launch an attack onto the site. Then we've also talked at length, and you discussed briefly there the freezer main lobby take, which is also an option. You know, it's interesting though. I find that the freezer main lobby take doesn't work very well usually. And the most common mistake I see teams make on that attack is overstacking players in freezer. And obviously, the reason that happens is because in order to get freezer, you need to have a lot of manpower to push all the way past the corner of it and into the smaller hallway to dislodge the defender there. But you also need to only have one gun there when you're actually making the push, because the push comes from the main lobby. You need substantial power there. But anyway, we're going to throw to a short break, and we'll be back as soon as we have this match ready.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for your patience while we got everything sorted out. It does appear that every single player of both teams are now ready to roll, so we're just moments away from getting back into Oregon. Yes, I know that might sound crazy, given that, well, we've been live for almost an hour now, and we're still only one round into our very first matchup.
We'll get it started as soon as we can, and hopefully we can get that second round finished up, and should be the same site, should be the same operators as when we left off. Well, hopefully that will be the case. Mirage still on defense, Altiora still on attack, and things pick up from where they left off. Now, That first round we saw Mirage looked really dominant in this map, but that's all we really have to go by, and it's not a lot. Second round didn't actually get to play out, so there's not any frame of reference on any site other than the top floor.
It was trying to remember back to the setup that they had on that bottom floor as well. They had a heavy presence on bunker and blue, like we come to expect from teams. They'd opened up the one wall leading into the back of supply.
Jeez, it's not stopping. Oh.
I mean, good riddance.
Yeah, good riddance.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
So they had I think they were doing a mirror window setup of sorts. I think they're probably going to do the blue mirror window next to the wall that Flynn just opened up, right? And then possibly a mirror window facing into Freezer. This makes sense given the common pushes from onto this site. We talked about them in the lead-in. You could also do, oh, look at that. You know, Zilchi could do the old style mirror window. Remember when we used to have that one in the closet that faced towards laundry? You can see that again.
10 seconds left.
I mean, I assume he might keep one of his mirror windows in his pocket
5 seconds left.
and then place it based on what the attack does. He did that last round.
Attacker's objective is to locate
I think my mouse just died. Hello?
Parker, are you talking right now?
Hello. So it appears that my TeamSpeak has stopped working. So
I cannot hear Parker. All right. I'm not sure what's going on, but I am going to cast this round and we'll see what happens. Looks like Altiora want to take into tower, so Loading and Quartz are going to attempt to delay that. See, Quartz is going to get droned out. He'll probably fall back off of that. He doesn't want to lose his life. He just wants to slow things down. Effectively, that has been accomplished. A slight slowdown there of about a minute. That's solid. It's just a little bit of delay, really. You can see Loading is playing on the Wamai. His job is going to be to use his magnets to try and maintain this position. Pillar is a very powerful spot on this map when attacking under the bottom floor. Wamai has his discs recharged. You can see he just got one. So he can use that to prevent nades from destroying his shield.
kind of prepped and waiting. It certainly looked like they're now heading towards that blue bunker style of attack, but I don't know. They've now recalled Dot over towards that meeting hall. He's going to be able to open up the hatch. Guns is watching inside a bunker, and somebody's inevitably going to have to take control of Pillar. That will likely be Spirits who does that, and he'll have to wrestle with the magnets, which another is nearly ready for Loading to toss on up. Of course, there's also that barbed wire that Mirage has set up that'll slow them down. They've barricaded the wall from bunker, so Mirage is going to sit pretty, and they'll fall back towards the front of laundry. They know where the push is going to come from, and they are prepared for it.
I like that we saw the double or the late reinforcement on the B wall. That's going to prevent that entry from the attack, and the Bandit can trick that as well. I also like the late displacement of this shield. The way that Mirage is using their utility has been pretty impeccable, but same for Altiora. Nice Capital Bolt, forcing Loading off of his position. Nade coming out to deal with the shield and the battery, and Dot will be able to open the wall, but not before Mirage's guns start coming alive. They'll get a couple kills, but the silent push up to the mini wall is actually going to result in his death. That was a poor decision made there by Silent. Big thing though, only 10 seconds left for the attack to rush into the site. Good entry there from Guns as Flynn goes down. It's all on Quartz and Loading. Quartz, though, will take down Spirits as well as Sinna, and there's the last one for Loading. There you go. Mirage clean up the round. A good collapse into the site.
Good to see that Flynn's looking
Bearded?
his quarantine best right now.
That's a way of
Shima was huge in that round, okay? So Shima comes in, the entire push gets moved. Instead of a pill drop, instead Altiora decides to push through bunker and blue. They've opened up that box drop so they can hold somebody up there if they want to. Mirage didn't have anybody really playing off the bomb site, and I think the call went out very quickly from Mirage. when there was about a minute and 10 seconds left, that the focus needs to be on taking control of laundry and then defending supply as they rush in. You mentioned that mini wall getting opened up, which is where Shima was playing off of, with the G36 of the Ash, picked off 2 different members of Mirage that tried to swing to stop the initial push that came out from Altiora. The remaining members of Mirage, in particular Quartz and Loading, were playing far enough back. Quartz was playing over by the laundry closet, and then the Wamai of Loading was playing inside of Freezer. And they had good coverage, and where the Wamai was playing, he was prone, holding a very tight angle in Freezer, which would likely fly under the radar of any of the attackers. You're not going to think to necessarily look there, especially at that level when there's only 10 seconds left, and you've got to watch the diffuser going down. So Altiora scrambled to try and keep the sledge safe as the diffuser got planted in a, I wouldn't say a default spot, but a very common spot by the double doors into the hallway. And at that point, Mirage, they managed to catch the entry of Altiora, especially with that C4. Quartz is a huge round. I think he got 3 kills. And then again, the second round in a row where Altiora have had a good start, get the opening pick, and then just botch the execution and allow Mirage to beat you in the final 5 seconds of the round. It happened on dorms above. It happened on laundry. We're going to see if it's going to happen now for the third bomb site, which is meeting and kitchen.
Silent placing down a mute jammer, but he might actually be too late as Dada's already placed the exothermic. If he detonates in time, then he won't be able to place that mute jammer and have it be meaningful. I don't know if there's already one on the floor. Oh no, okay. Did he cancel his placement? It's so hard to tell from this angle, but it looks like there is no mute jammer on the wall. He's trying to juggle for the EMPs. First EMP goes off, exothermic going onto the wall. And the mute jammer's placed in time. Silent clutches it up big time. Well done to him. Second EMP though. Now all that does is delay a little bit and waste an EMP. But at least that's a mission accomplished for Silent.
It's one of those things where we talk a lot about how kills tend to obviously steal the focus of people with the way that they play and how flashy they are. But even something like that can totally derail and execute. Just being able to waste one extra piece of utility. A lot of times when teams come up with these strategies, they'll argue over where to put one piece of their kit, and they don't really have an option at their disposal or a backup if things go awry. So yeah, that's a bit of a stumble for Altiora. Well played by Mirage, but I don't think the end is nigh, obviously.
Nor I, Parker, nor I. Stuns going into meeting. Slight disruption, but nothing crazy. I think he was trying to clear out ADSs. Silent will take down Shima. That's the first pick there. Guns, though, responds onto loading as he peeks from the meeting door. Now, his SMG-11 should be pretty proficient at that angle. Silent has his own, but he's going to peek wide with the shotgun, and he'll die to Dot. A nice bait there by Guns, who, yes, got put to low HP, but still managed to net out that kill.
There's a kill from Quartz. He's heating up, and he's had a very good round so far. But, I mean, I don't even really get to play-by-play because Mirage finishes the round. That's 3 in a row for them. They are looking good on a defender-sided Oregon. Things are going according to plan. The trifecta, the cycle, whatever you want to call it, Mirage so far, indomitable. And big ups to Flynn, by the way. He's been impactful in every single round. Obviously, if you're listening, go give him a follow. He's very close to 10K followers. I'm not saying you need to get him there. But if you follow Flynncasts on Twitter, you get him to 10K followers. Win or lose, he's at least got something exciting to look at when he's finished this match.
Yeah, good for him if that's the case. So of course, Quartz flanking from attic and tower was pretty much the final nail in the coffin there for Altiora. I'm surprised that they didn't have control over that. You could see that they've 6-picked off a Capital into a Nomad. They want to deliberately counter that issue for future attack rounds. But of course, in this case, we're going to top floor, which is a little bit different. Now, Quartz did actually flank on this site as well. He flanked in through meeting, I think it was, on the first floor. Or, sorry, on the first round. It was also on the first floor, depending on where you are in the world. And that actually won Mirage the round. So, Nomad might be a large boon for Altiora in this round.
10 seconds remaining.
All right, well, dorms, I suspect, will probably play out differently for Altiora this time. They struggled after they were able to open up attic on that first round attack that they pulled off, and they were quick to get the exothermic charge onto the wall. It'll also have to play out differently because Mirage is bringing a different kit for this particular site. Gone is the Mira, and instead of holding Trophy, and which was a very powerful position, mind you, it appears that Mirage's focus is going to now be more towards the downstairs aspect of this map, especially underneath the B bomb site, which is where Kitchen is, the actual location of the bomb site they just defended. And Quartz is going to have some protection. He'll have a rotate that was created by the castle. Thanks to that super shorty being in play, Quartz can also drop and escape through the basement if required. The double door that leads to small tower has also been castled off. So that's basically a super highway for Quartz to be able to get back if he wants to. And he's been pivotal so far for Mirage. You want to keep him alive as long as possible.
Speaking of pivots, of sorts, I suppose, it's going to be a pivot over towards Master. Now, there is some impact tricking going on here. I assume this is still possible. You can see loading's got the impacts. He's opened up the floor. Now, the goal is going to be to land that impact on the ceiling fan below. That should throw the impact force through the tiny little hole made in the floor there. Now, I know that this is possible in Old Oregon, and again, I assume it is still possible. We're going to find out. Dot's just called out that the holes are there, and thus he is not going to go for the exothermic. He might try for it later, but he knows he has to be wary. Zilchi gets the first pick of the round. He'll lose a lot of HP in that fight, but that's down in meeting. He takes down Spirit, so Nomad not actually going to be effective as he's not in play.
Mirage needs to heat up on these opening duels because so far every round has come awfully close and probably too close for comfort for them. There's the castle rotating down below now as there's a minute to go. The castle barricade removed from the bottom of White Stairs, and Zilchi will try to get back up as quickly as he can. As you'd said earlier, he was the one that was crucial for getting that opening pick. Quartz is going to take a gamble against guns right now, and the sledge is better, at least for now. 15 HP, give or take, for Quartz as he'll look to try to hold this one off. Exothermic charge is successful. That's a poor impact nade from loading as Shima opens things up for Altiora. 40 seconds remaining, and the Maestro looked to swing, but loading will wait for now. Mizio's been down, so the advantage is in Mirage, but with the HP of Zilchi and Quartz, you might as well call it a coin toss. Missed opportunity there for the smoke, or for the mute rather, of Silent, as now he's gone. And Mizio finished off by Silent before he gets punished by Dot. 20 seconds left. Altiara looking to warm up. They've got two inside of attic. They'll have to push the Maestro, but there's loading, and he's unloading all over guns. Shima with a kill of his own, and Quartz by the bunk will have to outduel two separate members of Altiara. He's getting plants down, making his presence known through attic. He gets the pre-fire, but he can't get the thermite to pop up from Dot Dash, and that's Altiara's first round in this map.
Way too close for comfort if you're Altiora, as they barely got away with that round. Well done to Altiora, though, for isolating the players on Mirage, picking them off one by one. Also, many unnecessary risks taken by Mirage to render them so weak in those engagements. Low HP, as you had mentioned, as the round was playing out there, was the ultimate failure of Mirage. The fact that they were exposed so many times and lost all that HP in those engagements that they didn't need to take. It's really rough to see. Particularly Quartz by the big window, exposing himself to the sledge twice there and losing so much HP as a result. You gotta imagine if he had like one more bullet's worth of HP left, he probably would have been able to survive on that final engagement with the thermite, but not so. Now that that's done, though, Mirage go back to the bottom floor, and they'll, I'm sure, reassess how they can defend that top floor in future engagements. They did it very different than the first time. They didn't do the mirror setup thing. I like that they brought out a strategy and then adjusted it immediately after. Maybe they'll go back to the mirror setup now that they've realized it was a big part of their success the first time around. On the top floor, I mean, of course.
Yeah, the mirror was really working out for them. It's very clear that one of the things that Mirage excels at is communication. I was impressed with their defense of the laundry supply room on round number 2 and how they were able to quickly fall off and basically restructure their defense with such little time left, and Altiara literally knocking down the walls and closing on in. Same thing with that very first round. The mirror that was played by Attic, you talked about, was a smart way to play it with the castle barricade on the master door. And then after the mirror of loading died, they just subbed in Zilchi to that spot. Was he effective in getting any kills in that round? No, he wasn't. But he got the line of sight into Attic that he could relay to the rest of his teammates, and then a big part of that was Flynn clutching it out off of that intel, as where Flynn was playing, which is Kids Dorms, has the rotate into Attic. So even just those 2 mirror windows being in place were crucial for those rounds. And yeah, I think it might have been a bit strange for them to give it up. Maybe at some point they'll bring it back, but for now it obviously doesn't seem to be the case.
Shima does incur some damage on that pre-fire through the wall. That's very clever there from Quartz, as he will do just a little bit of damage to Shima. I mean, it's worth it, right? Doesn't get a kill, no headshot, but still, you know, future engagements with Shima will be made that much more easy. And that's big because Shima is the top performer for Altiora right now.
Shima's been a standout and is also if I remember correctly, Shima's also quite a decently sized content creator. So you want him to be able to do his best. And now he's going to engage with Quartz. Ooh. And Spirits Falls, though. That's one of the 2 hard breachers for Altiora, and that could be a dagger to the heart of Altiora's push, depending on how they have these exothermic charge placed in mind. Still half of the round to go, though, so you can recover, but Mirage now with these opening picks, this is the spot they want to find themselves in.
I like the pre-fires we've been seeing from Quartz so far through this round, and really just this match. He's been landing them exactly where they need to be. Big reason why that pick came out early on to Spirits. And that's, you know, of course, one of your hard destructors gone if you're the attack, but there's at least still the exothermic charges from Dot. It's just going to limit the options. There goes the small wall, though. That's what Altiora really needs to get the entry into the site. That's a big open there. They will lose Shima as Silent is playing a prone angle through the B-bomb chassis. That's a hard angle to spot if you're an attacker. And well played, Silent, for utilizing it.
40 seconds left, and Altiora are again back by Pillar. They'll have to meet this crossfire that's been established by Mirage, leading over by Freezer. And that's where the Goyo is going to play of Zilchi, with Silent watching the other angle. A push-in could be met with doom, as there's still a Nitro Cell in the hands of Goyo, and he's got full HP. I don't know if he got successfully droned out when Altiora began to look towards that Freezer site, but they'll have to do something even more desperate now. 1 kill from Dot. Dash answered back by loading just seconds before that, and Dot's been dropped, living Mizio in a 1v4. Once again, this crossfire, this is where things are going to get very deadly. Look towards Freezer, look towards the bomb chassis, but you're going to get pushed by Silent. And it's Zilchi credited with the final kill, as it was a team kill that had actually dropped Dot in the first place. A calamity of errors in the final seconds from Altiora. Sometimes that's just how the rounds go, and Mirage will win their half decisively. So far, 4-1 with 1 round left.
Honestly, pretty funny stuff there, Parker. And as much as the small wall got opened up, it was ineffective and not useful in the outcome of the round, at least not to Altiora. The angles getting opened up were well played by Mirage. They did inflict a lot of damage through those lines. Particular credit to Silent for utilizing that bomb chassis angle. That is a nasty one to deal with when you're not aware it's being played. The information game from Altiora was really their downfall. After they opened up the wall, they didn't know what they were confronting. No drones followed in. They had spent so much time clearing out the building that they didn't have time to even drone, really. And Mirage, with the aggressive angles, kept Altiora on their tippy toes, kept them off balance, and really resulted in a pretty one-sided walloping downstairs. So well done to Mirage for setting up those lines, playing those aggressive angles, but not overextending like they did the last time they went to the bottom floor and clutching that one out. Now we're going to go to not the top floor, interestingly, but in the meeting kitchen defense for the final defensive round of Mirage.
5 seconds left.
I feel like Mirage has gotten a lot more comfortable with their defenses and have been engaging in gunfights more readily than we'd seen at the beginning couple rounds here. Obviously, when you look at a lot of these teams in the Canada division, you're going to give a pretty large spotlight to the fraggers that are going to be on this team. We just talked about Shima and how he plays out of his mind. We talked about Quartz to a certain extent. But everybody that's in this match right now is perfectly capable of winning gunfights. So if you swing and you take advantage of the fact that your opponents aren't necessarily prepared for you swinging, there's a very high likelihood that you might be able to get away with that opening pick, which can be really the round 1 in seconds. So if you're Mirage, yes, you are highly touted as a very strong team. A lot of people have you as the favorites right now to get this spot to go into the NA qualifiers. Fine. But expectations aren't what actually load into the server, your players are, and so far, while Mirage has been good, they're getting much more comfortable, and they're realizing that I think they can bully Altiora by, number one, having good strats on defense, but number two, just taking the gunfights when available. And it's, so far, we've seen Shima get out-dueled, we've seen Spirits get out-dueled, Dot's been able to put up a fight, but also he's been getting out-dueled by Mirage, and that obviously must be something that they take comfort in.
Yeah, Mirage is certainly looking very comfortable, and you can see that reflected in their round count. Now, it is a little bit of a different push here from Altiora, and I really like this. They're putting Shima in Garage and droning him in. So he can inflict some serious damage. It's going to come down to his individual performance, and instead of walking into that crossfire and inevitably his doom, he'll open up the main door to make loading consider peeking a lot more. He won't full commit to the peak as confidently as he would have had that door remained intact, pardon me. The long angle being played here by Shima is actually going to see someone and net the kill. Down goes Flynn, who exposes himself unwittingly. And that's going to be the early pick there for Altiora, and a big one at that.
A good round for Shima can almost entirely turn the tides against any team in the Canada division. Just ask Livid. The same can be said to Mirage, as now they're going to lose Silent. Both the SAS duo of Mirage has been removed, so goodbye to the smoke, goodbye to the mute. This is exactly the entry you want. Another for Spirits above, as he's broken his goose egg, with Zilchi getting on the board, as that's the only hope for Mirage. The UMP in the hands of the castle will need to do more damage, as Dot is halfway through getting that diffuser down. Loading is tagged in instead, but he gets split open by both Mizio and Spirits, putting Zilchi in a position where he's going to need a nice 4K. Significant damage done, but he gets robbed of a headshot. Might have been the shoulder? Not entirely sure. Rainbow Six giveth, Rainbow Six taketh away. In terms of taking away, Altiora takes that round away from Mirage, and it's a 4-2 scoreline, still favoring Mirage, as both teams will switch sides.
All right, so 4-2. I'd say that's, it is definitely favoring Mirage in the numbers. We have to remember this is Oregon we're talking about. I'd say that's solid for Altiora, that they managed to get that last round especially. Big round to Spirits in particular on the Habana, as you said, breaking his goose egg. And the Hatchling, 2 kills. Big round for him. We talk about impact frags. Occasionally you'll see players get like 12 kills, and almost all of them are on lost rounds. And so really they got maybe 2 meaningful ones. And those 2 were certainly meaningful ones. Well done to Spirits for controlling not only Attic, but exerting his own presence into meeting and assisting with that attempted diffuser plant from Altiora. They didn't need it in the end, but still. Good coordination on that attack. Now, top floor, the first round for Altiora. This is clearly where they feel most comfortable. One interesting thing already off the bat, we've got a reinforcement in games wall. You do not see that very much. And we're also seeing a rotation being opened up into Master. So you can tell quite clearly this is going to be a very different defensive strategy. Shield put into the closet doorway. There's going to be a heavy presence inside of Arsenal with that long angle looking towards the Master door. This is going to be a difficult take. You can see they'll put the Wamai in the closet, and they're putting the Wamai in the closet because he can keep his shield alive with his magnets for much longer than any other operator. His Thatcher is in play, so the magnets and the ADSs both will be EMP'd, which makes something that recharges and is single use like the magnets much more useful.
If the Spirits from last round shows up, he's going to be very hard to get out of that particular position because of the shots that he was hitting. So you need to make sure that Mirage doesn't engage needlessly in a gunfight, especially if Spirits catches them off guard. Now, am I playing with the deployable shield in towards Master doorway or that Master balcony to be more specific? Means that, well, he's going to be a whole hell of a handful to get rid of. With that said, we're only 40 seconds in, and it looks like Mirage have already made their way into security, and they are just moments away from being able to open up the position that was played by Mizio, and it leads to the top of White Stairs. Mizio doing some soft destruction of his own with that super shorty in hands, giving some great versatility to that castle roll, and yet more of the ground is being destroyed, but he loses the window cover, so he'll scamper off into Kid Storms, and that's where he'll play for now. It means that Dot Dash has moved out of that position, opening up the hatch in Attic, and the smoke might return. Meanwhile, Mirage is doing great work down below, but they've still got to convert that towards the bomb site itself.
Nothing converted just yet. But you can see clearly that Mizio is feeling very pressured at the very least. The nades could be the difference maker here. And oh, this looks like it's going to be a good one from Quartz. But the timing is just a second off as Spirit sidesteps that. I'm not even sure he was aware he sidestepped it, but he did. He'll peek onto Silent, who's at the top of white. Niant manages to get Mizio, exposing himself unwittingly to an angle. That's been a common theme so far through this match. Altiora's, though, firing back. Guns in particular picks up 2. Spirits will get the player at the top of white. Now it's all on Flynn and not loading. They're going to have to pull off some serious heroics to take this round back. It looked like they had a good shot of it, but the gunfights all went Altiora's way. Loading gets 1 as he vaults in. Surprised that the big window is not being watched, but it doesn't matter. The facts are the facts. Speaking of facts, Guns gets his 3rd. That's a big one for his team. And at the top of white, he'll get the 4th. The quad kill for Guns. The round goes to Altiora.
So it was back and forth as we'd expected on Oregon. I didn't think either you or I had this map in particular going in favor of one team over another. In fact, I probably would have given the slight edge to Altiora given the way that both of these teams played it in their very first matchups just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
With that said, you sung the praises of Altiora's defense there and how they were positioning the Wamai, how they were holding dorms, and then we got to see the castle firsthand as well, who was playing over by the side of dorms and then rotated into kids' dorms. And what I want to say about Altiora is they were great at wasting tons of time. They structured their defense and set themselves up so that past the mid-round, Mirage had lost their footing. Mirage was still trying to drone. They were getting thwarted by Altiora's defensive setup. The fact that Altiora kept switching up where their defenders were playing, and the fact that they were answering back by doing late setups, something that we saw out of Mirage when Mirage was defending the laundry supply room defense, or bomb site, which is where Altiora is right now, if we look at this round. But the one thing that I think we praised Mirage for, I think carries over for Alt as well. And I was impressed with the patience, and obviously, I don't think I need to say it, but the gun skill in Altiora has been very good overall. They were getting beaten in a bunch of gunfights that Mirage was taking. It seems that with that round, the pendulum swung back the other way, but the thing with the pendulum is that usually it keeps swinging. The question is does it have farther to go to Altiora's side, or will it bounce back for Mirage?
Well, it really comes down, of course, to Mirage's propensity for attack. It's not an easy thing to do, attack on Oregon. And there's no guarantee that Mirage will suddenly figure it out and then be capable of taking these attacking rounds. There's a certain, I guess, kind of expectation that defense is the favored side on Oregon. That is backed up by statistics, of course. And Mirage really does have to have something lethal in their pocket in order to take these rounds. So this is certainly a situation, a scenario where we could see Altiora swing it back on defense, bring it all the way to them winning on Oregon, and take map number 1. I would not be surprised if that were the case at all. And I agree with you. Altiora did have a better performance on Oregon compared to Mirage. So it seems to be Altiora's more comfortable map. Now, we have seen some interesting strats from Mirage. So there is a possibility here that is not going to be the case, that we will have Mirage take it as well. So this is still very up in the air. I want to see a few more attacks from Mirage before we start really calling this one.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think you can really take much from that single round from Altiora. Obviously, Dorms is a strong site of theirs, and I mean, some of it comes down to Mirage being poor with time, but Altiora's defensive setup was much better than I think Mirage was expecting. This time around, round number 8, first kill is going to go to Altiora. They have been doing exceedingly well in these opening duels. They're leading Mirage right now, and getting that pick onto the sledge is massive.
Yeah, that pick was Quartz just unwittingly. I'm using that word a lot because I think it's kind of a really good descriptor of what we're seeing through a lot of these rounds. Unwittingly exposing himself to an angle and dying as a result. The angle awareness on both teams has been really bad, and it's been a major factor. But another is the C4 from Guns that will take down Silent, and Altiora are looking like they're going to net another big round. Zilchi will open up a hole into the back wall, but not one that's rotatable. That's smart. It means the defense cannot go through it, but Zilchi can play off of it. He's going to get a kill from that hole, but also be refragged by Guns playing in the corner. So, very little time for these last two attackers, and it's Flynn and Loading once again, 2v4, looking for some hope. But as Loading gets downed and Flynn gets finished off by Guns, who once again, a big name that keeps coming up, I think that's his second quad kill to lock out the round.
That MP7 turns boys into men, Michael, and well, in this case, it turns Bandit into a killer. Absolutely a killer. 2 great rounds from him in the way that he's playing off of that. Do you think that we're actually seeing a Bandit get ran because it makes sense for the gadget? I mean, obviously with Kaid being banned, it needs some kind of denial. Bandit seems to be the operator that they're bringing instead of a Mute. And I think it's pretty easy to actually question that because Mute has dual purpose with those jammers, not only jamming drones, but also being able to stop the walls from getting opened up by exothermic charges. I'm a bit surprised that we're seeing a Bandit now 3 rounds in a row. He is not the most common operator. He doesn't bring any soft destruction. He does have a nitro cell. Fair play. But a lot of times teams will opt for a Mute because you can bring the shotgun. You've got that nitro cell still, and you're not going to be playing that far off site, especially given the close quarters nature of a map like Oregon. That pump shotgun is just going to absolutely murder people. So it's interesting to see that Bandit's going to get brought a third time, this time in the hands of Dot Dash, and a bit of an unorthodox operator emerges. With a tiny pick rate in professional play, Oryx will make his appearance in this matchup.
Okay, I'm gonna find out. I'll go check. It doesn't get played very much, that we know.
I think Siege GG did stats, and it was, I think it was 3% or under 3% was his pick rate.
Well, I'm going to check for the US division and then the Canadian division. I want to see, just like to have it maybe change since then. For the US division, he's not even on the list. For the Canadian division, before today, of course, he is also not on the list. So I assume that 3% comes from the European League or the APAC League or the LATAM League or something, because it's not coming from NAL, or so it seems, based on the stats that I have in front of me.
I remember seeing Siege GG talk about it. It was Yana's was at quite low as well, though she gets played a fair bit, I want to say, in the EU League. So
yeah, she definitely does get played in EUL.
Well, with that said, we'll watch what the Oryx is able to do. He did get a couple changes recently. He doesn't lose all of his dashes when he breaks through a wall like before. And I think they recharge slower now, though, because of it. I think that was the trade-off that he got. He doesn't deplete them all at once. And he also loses 5 HP, as he already has. As you can see, Guns has taken 5 HP. Obviously, that's not a gun that's hitting him. That's just him using his ability.
Right.
So a small change, interestingly enough, might be a big enough difference. And the other thing, too, is its sort of passive ability is his ability to hop up through those hatches. And on a map like Oregon, you can play all 3 of those floors, knowing that you can get back to the bomb site relatively quickly. Which, for the record, is Meeting and Kitchen. And the attack that is going to come in from Mirage looks to be mostly over towards the back tower, but you can see Silent and Quartz are not too far from being able to take the front of Laundry Stairs. Down goes Shima as Flynn gets the very first kill. Spirits fires back onto Quartz. The Jaeger out-dueling him, and Spirit is still playing down below in Laundry. It's being watched quite intently from Silent, but things could get messy for Mirage if they don't actually focus on the bomb site. Spirits is still alive, but Altiora finds 2 kills with 1 for Mirage, so the advantage still in favor of Altiora, and while the Jaeger of Spirits is still down below, nobody seems to have figured him out just yet. Some damage done to Silent as he tries to charge on into the bomb site. He'll go for the plant inside a Meeting, but he's lost his coverage as down goes Zilchi, and it looks like the lead is going to be in Altiora's hands. Dot, well, he puts the punctuation mark on that one. 3 rounds in a row, the trifecta, the full rotate, whatever you want to call it. And Altiora has the very first lead of the game.
What a puzzling decision-making process there by Mirage as they walked into Meeting, had the diffuser, could have tried to plant, did, but then the Habana's chasing a kill somewhere else on the map. I don't know. I'm confused there. That was an opportunity wasted, squandered even by Mirage, and well done to Altiora for locking up the round. They put themselves in the man advantage position. They held themselves there. They did not take any unnecessary gambles. They were playing very safe and very smart. Props to Altiora for that. So, clearly, Kitchen Meeting, a good site for them, as is the bottom floor. The question is, Will there be any weak spots? Will there be any places that Mirage can make an attack work? So far, that answer has been no. That's 3 rounds in a row, and it's looking pretty desperate.
And the pendulum, as we talked about, is still swinging. It hasn't quite reached its end destination on its arc, as Altiora have picked up 2 rounds since I decided to drop that, I guess, metaphor of sorts. But this really does also show how defender-favored a map like Oregon is. Teams are still trying to figure it out. Both of these teams have made small changes to pretty standard style defenses. When you defend that attic upstairs, whether it's meeting and kitchen or whether you're actually defending dorms, you're still going to sit inside of the attic. How you control that and how you police that when you don't have a mute on the board, well, Altiora's answer has been, we don't really want to run the mute. We want to run a bandit instead. A 3-speed with one of the best guns on all of defense and still has access to an extra cell? Sure. You can make it work as long as you're not sacrificing too much of that soft destruction. And it's very clear that Altiora is obviously doing A-okay, I guess you could say, when it comes to soft destruction. So it's just one consideration. Mirage's entry, as we now look towards round number 10, Michael is going to come from over towards the main door and garage. They've already taken the deployable shield out of the way, and that's forced Guns even farther back. He was playing by, what do they call it now? They call it Zulu? Do they call it L?
There's a couple different names for that. Security Hall, Zulu, L. Yeah, I like Zulu or Zed. Yeah, Z, whatever you want to call it. The name is understood, I think. That is an appropriate one too, because it is in the shape of a Zed, as you like to say.
Yes, and this is Canada Division, so we refer to it as Zed.
Zed. Yeah.
That is the law.
I am indifferent.
It is. If not, I will have to alert the Prime Minister.
No horse in this race.
Guns and
Altiora
Shima
will pick
with
up
2 kills, by the way.
Yeah, that's a big one for Shima. And Guns as well, who has just been such a big presence, as he has 13 kills. He'll finally be gunned down himself, though. He did a little bit of damage to Zilchi before he was eliminated. So it's not the end of the world for Guns, as he has not only managed to get a kill, but almost a whole other, despite not getting the frag in the end. Shima incurs a lot of damage as he tries to descend, and somehow that prediction power on loading really does not load. And wow, that's okay. Let's just drop into Shima as he picks up his 3rd kill. Flynn gets his own triple kill. What an odd round. This could be a strongman advantage for Mirage, but as I said, loading did not predict the prone when Shima was on 1 bullet's worth of HP. And as a result of that, and also another drop from Mirage for some reason, it'll be a 1v2. Flynn in a difficult position.
Yeah, I mean, you're on the Fragmite, which is okay, but you've got an objective to try to carry out, and you're going to be waiting right into the Lion's Den upstairs. And if Dot Dash and Mizio are smart, they're not going to move a muscle. Mizio on the ground, waiting very patiently. I don't know if he's looking through the soft destruction upstairs, or if he's just awaiting somebody to push from over towards Trophy. But as you can see, that Trophy door, well, it's barricaded. Flynn's going to have to hit away at it. He'll see if there's anything that he can do on dorms, and... Well, no, the wall inside of Master is Bandit Battery. Bandit, obviously, being the huge story here for Altiora, unlocking, I guess, a bit of a cheeky style of defense. Flynn will at least get the extra thermic charge off on Attic, and Altiora should have no problem being able to hold off on this one. As through the smoke, the thermite will go. He'll choke his way on in 5 seconds, and he's not making it into kids' dorms. Dot Dash shuts the door. 4 rounds in a row. Altiora looks so good. They're on match point.
Yeah, they should be able to take this one. The defensive side for Altiora has been 100% so far, and there's no real strong... Okay, the key to this is that there's not a lot to say in the favor of Mirage, right? Their attacks haven't wowed at all. There's no point where I'm looking at Mirage's attacks going, wow, they can do it somewhere, and they haven't been able to. The attacks have looked disjointed, rudderless, and absolutely flat from Mirage so far. So I'm expecting map number 2 to be coming quite quickly here. I'm expecting LTR to take this first map. It's looking solid for them on the defensive side. I did not anticipate Mirage's attacks on Oregon to be this faulty. Based on that 8-7 storyline, I know that Mirage lost it last time they played on this map, but I still thought that this would be a little bit closer.
Attackers need to locate
there is still time yet for Mirage to rally back and to start winning their attacks, but I do not anticipate it at this point. We've gotten a good sample size of what Mirage could do on attack, and it really hasn't looked that good. That last round in particular, to just, cap off that analysis for it, it mostly comes down to how they handled the pulse down in Freezer. That should have been Mirage in a strongman advantage. But 3 people made poor decisions when challenging the pulse in Freezer. And Shima got the freest kills of his career. Good to him. Well done to him that he got them.
The prone in Freezer killed me.
Yeah, why?
Absolutely killed me.
How does
I was
that
like,
work?
no way he's gonna out dual loading.
And he does. The pulse was on 1 bullet's worth of HP.
No way he kills Chase. By the way, Chase is loading. I can call him that because we're friends. Yeah, we're cool and tight like that.
Well, Parker hangs out with all the cool kids.
I eat at the sickest restaurants and I go to the sickest bars. Well, not now. I don't.
Yeah, not anymore, I guess.
Because of the pandemic.
Yeah, the whole death and stuff.
Yeah, that's the whole... Wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
There you go.
Save lives.
If you're going to go out, wear a mask.
Yep.
Or just stay home. Staying home's better. Anyway. So.
Yeah, I don't go out very much. As a gamer, I feel I am contributing to society. Finally, we're doing it, Parker.
Who would have thought gamers were the heroes we need?
But
just stay at home playing video games and everybody will heal.
Hey, it works, It's we're doing it. Yay. This is a different attack.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is a Mira setup that's being brought out by Altiora with Spirits in that position, and Bandit is the proverbial hot potato, as now it's Guns that's going to be back on this operator. You got a 4K here previously, as this is the second defense for Altiora on Laundry Supply Room. I would like to note that Alt is currently undefeated on defense, and in fact have 5 rounds in a row and 6 of the last 7. So Mirage obviously exhausting whatever good luck they had at the start of this matchup. Since then, it's been Alt all the way down.
The setup has not been tarnished at all from Altiora, and we're past the halfway mark. Quite clearly, we're coming down to the last minute here. C4 goes wide, and there's no one there. Even Guns thinks that Mirage has made more progress than they have right now. He's throwing C4s at Phantom players because he expects them to be there, but they're not. Mirror window destroyed. Dot's going to challenge the angle, go for the pre-fire, and nobody steps into it. A lot of passiveness on the side of Mirage. Spirits, though, not passive himself. He'll peek from deep in Laundry, and he'll pick up the first kill of the round. Here comes a very aggressive push from Mirage, though. Quartz will refract. A little bit late, but he gets it. That's Spirits pushed out of Laundry, or eliminated from Laundry, so he won't be able to deny the push that ensues. Down goes Zilchi and Quartz as they attempt to get some entry, but Buck in a good position gets 1 at the least. That's all, though, as Altiora cleans up shop. And map number 1 goes to Altiora.
Really well played by Altiora, especially on defense. They did okay on attack, though it was very clear that Mirage was far more comfortable. And Mirage was taking gunfights aggressively. When you're on defense, you can peek them. That's a lot easier. It's not necessarily the same shape you're going to find yourself in when you're on attack. And it was clear that Mirage's attacks were very lackluster. Nobody really stood out on the team after that very first round. And we had the reset leading us to see those 9 rounds, or those 10 rounds rather, post round 1. But that was Mirage's map. And when we were looking at the way that these two teams played here, Altiora, I thought, had the slight edge given the way that they handled Livid when they played on this map. With that said, we got Villa up next, Michael, and what do you expect for that one?
Well, I expect we're going to bring Jackie back into the conversation, and then we'll talk about that Villa probably, for our map number 2. But after she gets back in, I would assume. Hi.
Hi. Can you guys hear
me? Yes, we can hear you.
You know what?
Hello.
We can.
Hi, gentlemen. So Altiora with the comeback there. Guns was popping off. He got a few frags under his belt. But, Intera, I'm going to pick your brain first. What do you think Altiora did well on map 1?
I think on defense, they were really patient. This is a team that is very capable of taking gunfights. This is a team that is capable of playing a ranked style of play where they're unpredictable and they're all over the map. They were very restrained and they stuck to the plan that they had. Now, none of the defenses that we saw out of them were really, world-beating style defenses. They were all variations of what we see in the meta at the moment. But Altiora didn't overcommit. They didn't peak. We didn't see them commit tons of mistakes. They weren't over roaming. They were working well, and they were communicating really well. It was something that I gave props to Mirage for when Mirage was on defense, is that I said one of their greatest strengths were that they are able to adapt and read halfway through a round and make adjustments based off of that. Altiora did that, but did it better when they were on defense. And it really suffocated Mirage. Mirage had no way to be able to puncture that defense of Altiora when there were angles being held on a close quarter map like this. Not engaging in needless gunfights was the best thing that Altiora could have done, because it allowed them to clean up through the middle of the round and onward.
And you were mentioning Mirage, obviously, and they started off strong, but they did struggle on attack. Kicks, you said that their attacks looked flat. What do you think that they could have done better?
Mirage looked flat because they were so linear. The problem was that they were trying to attack from the same thing over and over again in the same, not exactly the same ways, but in a concerted effort that has almost no lethality to it, right? Because it's like, okay, we're all going to come from this area. We're just going to push. There was no real coordination on the attacks either. Often we'd see, for example, in that last round, we had a bunch of players from Mirage pushing in, and altogether now, I guess, but the Buck lingers as he gets into laundry, has potential to save two of his teammates, and doesn't, then gets a kill, and then, okay, well, at that point, the man count is already so in favor of Altiora, there's no way to recover the round. So it's like I think disjointed was the word I used earlier, and it's the one I would bring up again. Mirage is looking all over the place on their attacks. Like, they're not really working together as a cohesive unit, and that needs to be solved. They're also, again, the flatness is to do with their lack of crossfires and play off of each other's angles.
Well, let's see if they make any improvements on map 2. And before I join this conversation with you two, we were talking about Villa, map 2. What do y'all expect? And Tara, I'll start with you.
Well, I mean, Altiora's defenses on Oregon were very well structured. Given that Villa is their map pick, I expect more of the same. And given that what we saw when Altiora matched up against Livid, the rounds that Livid didn't show up, Alt just took full advantage of that. And they were able to really thrive in an environment where, you know, if your opponent makes a misstep or two, or they don't have the strongest idea of where they're going, as Kick said, you know, Mirage's attacks looked a little flat on Oregon, and I'd agree with that. If Mirage does the exact same thing, then they're in significant trouble. Now, the one good news for Mirage is that they start on defense. They're in fact starting on defense in every single one of these maps, which means that in the home stretch, Altiora is going to have the advantage. That's obviously good for Alt, but for Mirage, it allows them to build up a bit of a cushion in case things go from bad to worse, as we saw in Oregon.
Kix, what are you thinking for Villa?
I'm thinking that it's going to come down to whether or not we have Mirage recover, because we don't know if their mental state is in a good place right now. And that's what I'm most concerned about if I am Mirage. I'm thinking, are we at a good place for this right now? Are we going to be able to focus on the game and forget about the fact that we just lost our map pick? I think that must be racing through their heads, and I'm imagining they're probably not discussing it right this second. It's probably not something that's out loud, more just something up here. We see that a lot. I'm hoping that it doesn't get in Mirage's way and we get a good map number 2 and this doesn't end up being a sweep. I can envision this certainly going to a third map if Mirage wake up from what happened in map number 1.
Well, certainly a lot on the line. Both of these teams vying for that NA major qualifier spot. But map 1 Oregon going to Altiora 7-4. We shall see if map 2 will go differently. We'll be right back.
Hello everybody, it's time for our second map between Mirage and Altiora, and if we need to remind you, well then you obviously haven't been paying attention. On the spot here is not just first overall in Canada division, but on top of that, a North American qualifier spot. As the fourth team that will be representing North America at the major later this summer, well, they'll need to come from a qualifier. Right now, Dark Zero is the only team that's qualified, and we'll wait and see. One map, maybe Altiora is going to be joining them. I'm Intero, this is Kickstar. Welcome back. We've got some great Rainbow Six ahead for you.
Yeah. The only team that's qualified for the qualifier, because, you know, you have to go through there's the one loop, and then the second hoop, and then there's the flaming hoop, and then finally the dive into the water. Finally, after you get up on the other end of the water, you're in the major. Congratulations, you did it. And yeah, so there's only the one spot from the Canadian division that goes straight to that qualifier, by the way. So, of course, that is what is on the line here, and that's a big deal for both of these squads. Whereas the U.S. division gets those 3 auto-qualify spots for the major, and then 4th, 5th, and 6th in the U.S. division get to compete at the same qualifier as this one Canadian division team, whether it be Mirage or Altiora. But all that put aside for now. It'll be Mirage starting on defense, Altiora starting on attack. We go onto Villa. Ban phase kicks off right here. And right off the cuff, it's a Thermite, which I personally find very interesting.
Thermite was being brought extensively by both teams, but also Mirage. That was Flynn's primary role when he was on attack virtually every single time. So clearly Thermite has extra strength on Villa. You know that if you put his exothermic charge on the ground next to an electrified wall, not only will the electricity not destroy the charge, but when his charge goes off, it'll blow up the wall as well. Call it collateral damage, if you will. Joining him will be his best buddy and great tandem of Thermite and then Thatcher. They were both available on Oregon. Now, neither are available. It's going to fundamentally change the way that we see Villa get played out. This will also open up Kali to get played, but most importantly, Maverick will also be on the board.
You get the Clash Band out next, and it's good that you brought up the Kali, because we might actually see in obviously the compulsory Mira ban, we might see Kali get played here, despite how I'd say uncomfortable she is on this map. This is not a good Kali map, I'll be clear. This is a map where she can be useful for opening walls, certainly, but in terms of her weapon, it's hard to use that here. But Altiora not counterbanning loading might mean that he actually brings it. And I'd be seriously interested to see if he can make some magic work with Kali on this map. I remember that Kali was a big factor in Mirage's initial win earlier in the season, so it's totally possible that we'll see that represented again here in map number 2 of the series.
Yeah, I feel like when you have the fragging potential that comes with a Kali, that you might see her. I don't know if we're going to see Altiora bring her out, so the focus is just going to be on Mirage. As you pointed out, it's going to be Loading, who's likely going to be running that Kali, as we'd seen from the initial matchup between Nordic and Mirage. Who knows? But we've got 6 rounds of defense for Mirage to get through first before we're going to be able to see what they can put together on attack. And you best hope that if you're a fan of Mirage, that they put together something better than what you saw in Oregon, because, well, they were downright bad. And Altiora took advantage of that. And so far in this matchup, Mirage has yet to win a single round on attack. With that said, as I pointed out, they got 6 rounds, so Mirage has some time to start to run up that score. If Mirage cannot keep it close on Villa on defense, the win condition for Altiora will be get as many rounds on attack as you can and then just carry over on that momentum. This is the best opportunity for Mirage to be able to take this map. If they can't put a couple rounds up early on Villa, that might be the ball game.
Well, at least Mirage get to start on defense, right? That was where they looked infinitely more comfortable on map number 1. Villa is less defender-sided than Oregon statistically, as it's been figured out a lot more. It's been out longer. That's going to happen. You're going to determine how to attack a map and just be more comfortable on it as time goes on. Nice angle being opened up there by Loading. He could see into Piano Door, and that'll slow down the roam clear. But it's been spotted out by Altiora. You can see the tracers coming out there from Mizio. He's well aware of what's being held. Loading it with a shotgun. Should be able to win against Shima pretty easily. And there it goes. Shima done away with. simple shotgun blast, 1-2 punch, and Mirage is in the lead in terms of man count.
Drop the bomb diffuser.
I cannot believe Loading just got away with that. That is that is so dumb, but it worked. It worked so effectively. Loading trades out both Dot and Shima, and also, most importantly, trades out the hard walls that will stay reinforced as he punishes the Maverick. I'll give the advantage back to Mirage as he was immediately dropped, but still, that is the start that you need. And we are 90 seconds in, and Loading might have just delivered a killing blow to Altiara's chances in round 1.
Yeah. Massive brain play there from Loading. /S.
The biggest brain.
Yeah, absolutely huge. Galaxy brain even. But hey, you know, he gets the kills, right? That's all that matters. And it's also the only hard destructor on Altiora, which means that they don't need to worry about anything getting opened up in future. Now, that doesn't actually really matter that much, because the way that Altiora is choosing to attack this is through the double bottleneck that you signed by landing a connector. From this position, it's really hard for Altiora to execute into the site, especially with a manpower disadvantage. And it's going to get harder and harder as we get lower and lower on time. 40 seconds left. Flynn can deny that one statuary door for the remainder of the round using his last 2 gas canisters.
And there goes one of them. So one still remaining for Flynn, but he's not quick enough to the draw. And no pro set camo is going to really help you out there. Good news for him is he's got the MP5K in the hands of Silent, and will now be a 1v2 that Guns is not going to win. There it is, Zilchi locking it out. Bandit was such a crucial operator in the very first map, and he's going to play a big part for round number 1. At minimum, Mirage start things off on Villa by doing something that they haven't done in the last 35 to 45 minutes. Which is win a round.
Big ups there to Mirage for addressing the problem head on. We almost saw that actually turn into an Altiora round, though. I gotta say, Spirits being allowed to just prone through the smoke. I mean, what? How does he get away with it? And he should not have been able to kill Flynn. Good job to Altiora for almost making that happen, though. Most of that, I think, just comes down to Loading in his roam over by Aviator. He not only got those 2 kills, but we didn't even talk about it. He also delayed for a solid chunk of time. So, like I said, props to Loading. Big one there. After that happened, the push towards the site, Altiora really didn't have much of a chance. I talked about this before, but even with a man count advantage, pushing through that double bottleneck that is the trophy and statuary doors is not easy to do. That's borderline suicide for the attacking team. It's a really risky endeavor, and it requires an abundance of utility to execute perfectly, and also usually a late flank. Now, we did see the late flank from Altiora. They rotated one player over to Master, but ultimately that wasn't enough to win the round.
Honestly, like I said, I think Loading's play really was the big difference maker. He took a gamble on killing the Maverick, and with that, you lose so much on the attacking side of things. A lot of teams are just going to run a Maverick and nothing else. So I don't think we're going to see a Hibana get played. Ace is still not available for those that play the game but don't actively watch this level of competition. Ace and Malusi are still in timeout, if you want to call it that. They're enduring rigorous testing to see if they are going to be good enough. They have to go through basic training, yada yada, whatever pun you want to play off of. Anyway, you can't play them. So you're not going to see a Hibana, you're going to see a Maverick an awful lot. And by losing that Maverick, it means that you can't do anything on the Master wall. It means that the setup from Mirage, which was well off site, which was by that Aviator Games bomb site, which is where, or Aviator and Bar, which is where the bomb site is right now, we're going to see Altiora just kind of flounder. And that was it. They had to go for picks. And they did a pretty good job of getting some picks, as you said, they prone through the smoke. They killed Flynn. That was quite puzzling. But at the end of the day, the strategic aspect died with Dot. And I would imagine that if they lose the Maverick early again, we'll see the same thing.
Hopefully for Altiora, they won't lose that Maverick. Obviously, their ideal scenario is they're able to get the wall opened and apply a lot of pressure to the site. You can see the shield is surviving a lot longer than it ought to, and that's allowing Loading to continue to hold at the top of main with Flynn to assist. Flynn has incurred a little bit of damage here as he's trying to challenge downstairs, but he's still alive and still holding on. They'll take down Dot, actually, who was downstairs, I want to say. And Loading also gets Shima. So 2 kills for Mirage, unanswered so far. And there's a third. Flynn with the shotgun blast on Spirits, and Loading gets his second as well. It's all on Mizio, trying to come up from below. And he's going to run away to attempt to, I'm sure, give his team a little bit of a timeout.
Yeah, 1 minute left. You might as well just hit the pause button and wait. There are no timeouts, so just have your team discuss and regroup. You have a hill to climb as an attacking squad on Villa, given how the defense like this map very much and how it tends to structure itself quite well, especially the 2 upstairs bomb sites of Trophy and Aviator, though Trophy's pick rate has fallen, and we note that quite a lot, as a lot of teams like to go downstairs to kitchen. So with that said, this round is lost. It should be a flawless round in favor of Mirage, unless Mizio is able to get a couple impactless kills. He's got the G8 in hand, so it's definitely doable, but he's just wasting time right now. Spraying through the wall as there is a bit of an altercation with Silent, but I mean, it feels almost foolish trying to play-by-play this is. Well, Mizio's not going to be able to come back at all. There's the flawless round for Mirage, and they're up 2-0.
Yeah, those rounds where it's like a 1v5 and the guy's on low HP, you're just like, okay. So, like, the thing is, they're trying to waste time. Or not waste time, they're trying to use up the time afforded to them, right? Because the attack still covets time even if they can't win the round. It affords them an opportunity to plan out the next round. And I'm sure that's exactly what we were just watching Altiora do. They were probably planning out what they're going to do and getting it all sorted. So, mission accomplished, I would assume. You're going to kitchen for the next defense from Mirage. That last round was really just an absolute stomp for Mirage. They not only denied 2 players coming up from below, but also 2 players trying to push in through study. It was a very easy hold for them because they were allowed to maintain their shield, thanks to the Wamai and the ADS. This is what happens when you get a Thatcher ban. And Altiora, I guess, in that round, shot themselves in the foot. They were the ones to ban Thatcher.
It's something that we don't always dwell on, is which teams choose to ban which operators and how it plays out. And I mean, it's very easy for us to get lost in the rhythm of a round and not really go into detail on how a single operator could change things for either the defense or the attackers. And for those that are semi-new to this game, when a team like Mirage bans Thermite and Mira, they're not going to be caught off guard by their own bans. And so they know that they're going to be playing without a Mira, and they're anticipating that. The Thermite ban is done to hinder Altiora, and I mean, right now, Altiora is just running a Maverick. Like I said, I don't think we're going to see a Hibana, so there's a lot of pressure on the shoulders of Dot, but there's tons of soft destruction. In fact, everybody on the team has it, including Dot. So once Maverick does his job, everybody can open those walls up, and it means that there's tons of flexibility for Altiora because they can also stick bodies up on that second floor, or if you're a Buck or an Ash or a Zofia, down below, and be able to just blow up the floor or the ceiling, whichever perspective you as an attacker have at that time. So flexibility is the name of the game, and I don't think we're going to see too much movement on Altiora's composition. Maybe a Nomad tossed in if they don't like the IQ, but other than that, everything is going to stay the same. And the Thermite ban right now quite clearly not causing a huge amount of issues for Altiora, but I don't know if you can throw the issues that they've had so far through 2 rounds onto the shoulders of the hard breach, with the exception of round 1 where Dot died early.
Speaking of early, that damage done to guns is definitely going to be crippling for future engagements. I feel bad for him for that. But he's still got his utility. He can still exert that onto his opponent. The pulse sensor is going to be working a lot of magic here, but he's got to be wary of the heartbeat detector, or rather, that is the heartbeat detector, of IQ's gadget, which will be able to detect his heartbeat detector. C4 gets guns. There was only a little bit of damage left that finishes him off. But gun gone is gun gone, and guns is gone. Altiora will be opening up from above and exerting some pressure onto the defenders, the anchors in the site, forcing them to maneuver somewhat. So far, no picks for the attack.
Mirage doing an excellent job on these opening duels now, as they're perfect so far, and you've got a utility dump from Shima upstairs as he's given Spirits the Ash and will play on the Buck, but still Buck is known by a lot of players to be an entry fragger of sorts. The entry frag from Altiora is going to be Mizio as he punishes and buries Zilchi. The pulse is gone. That's valuable intel that will not be available for Mirage for the remainder of the round. Now, you've still got the pests up from the Mozzie of Silence, so it's possible that you've got information to spare. A second kill from Mizio comes out. It's met by a second kill from Silent onto Shima, but Flynn is down. That's a Nitro Cell, and it looks like both Nitro Cells from Zilchi and Flynn will have no effective use. A battle between Dot and Silent, with Silent coming out ahead. No Super Shorty, so he'll have to get the job done with the pistol. Mizio a third kill as well. And now it's 2v2. Silent and Mizio are still up. Is there an ace on the board? No. Loading takes out Spirits and then drops Mizio as well. So nobody's getting them all. But in terms of defense, Mirage is picture perfect. 3 rounds, they complete the cycle, the trifecta, etc.
Well done in getting that trifecta, and the defense of Mirage looking just as solid as it did on Oregon. In fact, even more so, I would venture. Now, that mostly came down to much the same thing we've been seeing throughout many of these rounds, which is just Altiora getting close to the site, slowly but surely, and then 20 seconds left, they're like, yeah, we're going to rush in, woo! And then they all die to Mirage. There was no real deviation. There was no real interesting notes to make in terms of strategy. I think that the vertical pressure being as, I guess, toothless as it was is kind of worth noting. You noticed, I'm sure, that Mirage didn't really feel like they couldn't play where they were being opened up on from above. They felt comfortable. They felt plenty comfortable where they were playing. They didn't really ever feel much pressure, and as such, they were allowed to continue to maneuver as they pleased in the site. But, you know, at least Altiora focused their efforts on Kitchen. At least they had a concerted focus, right? The vertical pressure was a big factor in that, at the very least, but it still was not enough to win the round.
10 seconds left before insertion.
I wonder if we're going to see this be a just completely defender-sided slugfest, though. I could absolutely, with the way these teams have been playing today, I can absolutely envision Mirage takes 5-1 on the first half, and then Altiora swings back with their own 5-1 or like a 6-0, and this is a 2-0, or maybe we go to OT.
5-1's a hell of a scoreline, though. I mean, we're much more accustomed to 4-2s. We even saw one on Oregon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible that we see a 5-1. The trickiest defense, I would say, for Mirage is coming back now, which is trophy and statuary upstairs, given what we've seen out of Kitchen and Aviator defenses as of late. The stats may not back me up fully, but I feel like Kitchen has become more defendable over the last little while, and with it obviously will help that Mirage uses that as their tertiary bomb site. If I can use a term that Flynn loves to use. By the way, has he hit 10k Twitter followers yet? Have enough of you followed him? I think he was like 40 away. Haven't
checked, but yeah, the stats do back that up. It's like 50%, which is it's the middle range bomb site.
Booyah.
Yeah, booyakasha.
So, there's no real wiggle room for the defense in regards to how they play out a trophy statuary take, because you can't escape to that bottom floor. You're going to play on the bottom floor to begin with and then likely fall off at some point. Shima was trying to break through that master wall. He has been dreadful through 4 rounds. He needs to be better for his team to have an opportunity to win these rounds. Once again, another opening pick. The first blood falls for Mirage. That's 4 in a row.
Really nothing happening in response from Altiora. Ash charge from below, trying to move the player away from the wall, so that the wall is easier for the attack to play. Mission accomplished, at least. 1 minute left, though, and Mirage still has control of top red, as well as their own site. It's going to be a nice pick there onto Spirits, who was playing below, and you'll see Mizio also go down to Quartz, who gets a little aggressive peeking into the red hallway. It's all on Guns and Dot now, and this is once again looking a lot like one of those unwinnable rounds for Altiora. You'll see Dot get 1 as he pushes by the master side. A nice pre-fire there from Guns, even exchange of HP, but now he's on low HP in a 1v3, and he'll die to anything. Peeking around the corner, he heard the prone, he'll pre-fire it. Ooh, but he misses his shots. Every single one of them missing there, as loading would have died to a single bullet. And he'll pick up the final kill. Mirage take their 4th round in a row.
Something that we didn't see more of on Oregon, which is the pump angle play. It was talked about actually by Canadian, with the way that SSG likes to play it, obviously doubling up on the smoke and the mute. And you can play a lot of corners in Villa like that as well. Those corners are, of course, almost always referred to as rat corners. So you play like a rat down on the ground, gnawing at the feet of your enemies, and then you just strike a killing blow to their chest. With that said, 4 rounds from Mirage. Altiora have had some great difficulty entering the building, and I don't know. What do you think the issue is that's going awry for them? Is it the Mozzie play? Is it the mute play? Are they having too many struggles being able to determine exactly which bomb site is easier to press? What is the major stumbling block right now for Altiora?
Attackers need to locate
If I had to, I really didn't want to say that, but I'd say that just generally speaking, they don't seem to have a well thought out plan. They don't seem to have a clear understanding of what the mission is to accomplish. There's not a lot of lethality in any of their pushes. But this is the same thing that we saw Mirage put out. I'll be honest with you, Parker. Both of these teams are absolutely, I guess, stumbling. They're just stumbling on attack. There's no lethality. There's no, wow, look at that take, look at that push, look at that entry, look at that, what have you. The drone work is lackluster. It's like you have to, it's like almost everyone who's entering has to ask for a drone almost, which adds to the time being wasted by like 30, 40 seconds. Of course, that's not going to be, it's not obviously going to be like 100% accurate. I imagine that there are many pre-placed drones from both attacking teams, but so far what I've been seeing is just, again, to use a term we use quite frequently, I've seen a lot of lethargy on attack. I've seen a lot of just real slow, real tired attack rounds that are not sure what they want to do. And it's puzzling. At least in this round, Altiora is aware of the shield play at the top of main, and they're going to try and deal with it. They'll clear out the ADSs, or attempt to do so, to follow up the nades. But the Wamais and ADSs both are placed very well to counter this.
One thing I want to highlight, though, before we really get into the action is underneath the 0 of the Mozzie pest, you usually see a 96, I believe it is. When he caught a drone just now, that number changed to 1, or a 98 or something like that. It changed to a 1, which leads me to believe that, or 96, there you go, so it's back. To me, it looks like it's supposed to specify whether Mozzie has a drone or not, and it's just not working correctly. It was working just fine earlier because we heard the voice command from none other than Mozzie himself saying that he'd hacked a drone. So obviously trying to show off what information or gadgetry might be at Mozzie's disposal.
So that's going to be another useful magnet there, and these players on main stairs continue to delay this push further. That's over half the round, Parker, spent on this take. Oh, bad timing here for Flynn, but Spirits is trying to throw a stun, so he'll die to Mizio instead. That could have been an easy double kill for Flynn if he had kept his gun up, but not so. Loading at least does finish off guns before finally reinforcing the wall. And yes, Altiora have gotten control of top main, but what did it cost?
Well, right now you'll see if you've still got any utility left to try and pressure Classical Hall. There's a flash that'll go out and gets eaten by an ADS. A frag grenade blows up the deployable shield, so the cover is gone from Loading, who's on 1 HP. He's got 9 kills, looking to break double digits on this round, and if he does so, it gives his team a very good chance to be able to hang on. 40 seconds in Altiora, now working away at that study wall. They know it's going to be a heavy task, but they're disciplined enough to make it happen. They'll buck it open, and then Spirits, who is low on HP himself, is looking towards Classical Hall, but who am I of Loading is deep inside of the bomb site. Zilchi will watch the main door leading into the A-bomb site, and he'll catch Spirits in the process. That's a heck of a shot, and he manages to do it through what appears to be the breach that was opened up in study. Now Shima, Mizio, as well as Dot will need to march on into the bomb site. Diffuser in hands for Dot as he'll need to be covered, but he's losing his allies. No. Shima still no kills. He gets taken down by Quartz. 1 for Dot, but he's finished off by Silent. And then the Mozzie springs out into a 1v1. This is winnable for Mizio, but no, Zilchi the clutch from downtown. 5 in a row from Mirage. They've yet to drop a single round, and your prediction looks very close to being correct, Michael, as Mirage only has 1 more round on defense.
So 6-0, 5-1 maybe, and we're looking at Probably a slight bounce back from Altiora, but I'm imagining a map number 3 at this point. I guess we'll see. That round was really hard to watch. The way that Altiora decided to execute onto there is a very older style. It's one that's still used by many other teams, of course, but it's still an old style. They try to open up the games wall in study. They also try to pressure from the games wall by the West Hall. Now, that wall was late reinforced by Mirage. Well done to them. I believe that was Loading who got that. And because of that late reinforcement, it made the angles for the attack a little bit weird, a little wonky. They didn't have the exact ones that they wanted, and that limited the options for the attacking team, for Altiora. Now, worth noting is Mizio had a free entry into Aviator, and he kind of ignored the Wamai. I'm sure a lot of you saw that. He saw the Wamai prone on the floor and just ignored him until the Wamai moved, and then he's like, oh, heck. And Mizio won that fight, but imagine how much easier it would have been for the following engagement with Zilchi. Imagine how much HP he might have had if he just killed him in the first place.
10 seconds remaining.
The Maverick wall, Mavericking the hole into games also worked out pretty well. I have to commend Altiora for one thing. They didn't try to take into study and open the wall until they had top main control. They focused that down first. And really, the reason they didn't get top main control is because of the nice setup from Mirage. That's why it took so long. I also have to critique Flynn a little bit here. He should have gotten 2 kills on that main staircase. He should, or at least, he should have done more damage than he did. But didn't happen.
I mean, I'm always down to critique Flynn, by the way. So if you ever want somebody to do that, I often laugh when he does poorly.
That last round is a good time.
He and I, we are kindred spirits, great friends. Well, speaking of great friends, Dot and Quartz, they'll duel first, and another opening pick will go to Mirage. This is a weird setup for Mirage, by the way. We've got an Alibi, a Capkin. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen these operators get used here before, but they are definitely and very firmly not meta. Dot almost loses that fight to Quartz, by the way. That was a much riskier gamble for Altiora, because if you lose Dot and Quartz manages to walk away, or even if it's a trade, that's a huge win for the defenders by being able to take out the Soul Heart Breacher. It fundamentally changes the way that Altiora are able to really do anything with this bomb site. And there you go. Dot is gone. Removed by a Nitro Cell, tossed up by Zilchi, caught, maybe unwittingly, and we're back to a 4v4.
Well, Altiora still has that control above, and they've been doing a good job of using it, to be honest. A little bit of pressure applied. Not a lot. The kitchen is still very intact, as you can see. And that's allowing Flynn to be very comfortable inside of the B-bomb site. Zilchi also doesn't seem to be feeling much pressure right now. But there's still a whole minute left for Altiora to start opening up. So the Buck's going to do just that. He's got 19 shots in Skeleton Key. There's 2 breaching charges left on Mizio. There's still time to use them. But Altiora need to really pick up the pace. They need to go. There's no more C4s on the defense. They've got impacts, but that's not going to kill you from below in all likelihood. So just, yeah, open up, get the angles, maybe a pick, but at the very least, force the anchors to relocate. Worth keeping in mind here is there is still a roamer on Mirage. They've got Loading afar afield, able to inflict some damage. And he really has been doing a lot of damage so far through this map.
Looked like the Capkin of Silent was down below as well, but I don't know if he's been recalled or not. He's close. He's in Pantry, so he's playing at an angle where it's, I guess, near enough to the bomb site where you could consider him playing safely. Both of his impacts get tossed out to maybe try to do some damage. There's a kill from Loading. He talked about how he flew under the radar, and he's doing excellent work. 1 for Silent, 1 for Loading, 1 for Zilchi. Mirage, a perfect half. 6-0 on Villa. Match point.
You honestly don't see 6-0s on a half very often. I think that is a very rare thing. I will say that. That is exceptionally rare. So, well done to Mirage. Wow, that just yo, Parker, have you noticed? It hasn't stopped for the last few weeks. The bans?
I shed a tear seeing them all get taken care of.
It's been just a massacre. Like, I feel like I haven't seen the ban feed, I guess, stop putting out names for like over a week now. Just nonstop. And it's good. Yeah,
That's very good.
I could safely say good heckin' riddance.
Yes. That is a way of putting it.
Yeah.
Now, we can talk about the bans all we want because that ban feed was really something to behold. But
Yeah.
so was the defense from Mirage. That's called a segue.
Hey, nailed it.
Boom. Anyway, we'll change things up. We don't see 6-0s all that much. You speculated that we might see a 5-1. We've seen teams be able to pull off 5-1 and then 5-1. Not that rare.
Yeah.
Obviously not common, but it's not
It happens.
like we're freaking out over it. The same way that a 6-0 is very certainly something worth freaking out over. And now, unless we're on opposite day, Villa is Altiora's map, and Mirage is very clearly the better team right now. Altiora had so many problems getting in. They forfeited a ton of early picks. They've got their 3 entry fraggers, Guns, Shima, and Spirits, have a combined 3 kills. It doesn't matter what kind of strategies you bring to the table. If they're not hitting their shots and they're just getting, beaten every time, every gunfight, every corner, doesn't matter the reason, you are in so much trouble.
You can see clearly. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the opening kills really do tell a very convincing story. Altiora were able to get 2 opening picks, but they were almost immediately answered back, whereas most of the opening picks from Mirage snowballed into something more.
You could say that has something to do with the sides, of course, but focusing in on this round right now, you've got Altiora set up in a really strange way. They're trying to hold below, or rather not below, they're being attacked from below. Guns is trying to hold on to Study, which you don't see very much. Spirits will get Flynn as he attempts to repel in. Bad decision there from Flynn. That's Diffuser down, Hard Destructor lost. Now, luckily for Mirage, the soft wall is on B, so they can just focus on a B take. They don't necessarily need a Hard Destructor. That's thanks to the setup from Altiora. This setup is only going to work, and only could work, because Thatcher is banned. That's why they banned it. You need those ADSs to persist inside of Study Door, or rather, not Study Door, inside of Study itself, where Guns is right now. The push-up main stairs will net 1 kill, but Mizio's there for the refrag. He's playing by the bar rotate. Zilchi still has top of main control, though, and he could turn that into more kills. Guns is possibly still exposed and might be an easy pick-off for Mirage.
Air jab will stop anybody from classical hallway, and Guns gets taken out from loading, likely a peek hole that was established. But no, actually, it's the soft destruction that was done by Altiora earlier on. They end up going, as Emzo used to say, holes, they go both ways. And in this case, well, it's loading who takes full advantage of it. So a 3v3. Deployable shields being brought by the remaining 3 defenders means that with the exception of the 3 toxic canisters, there is no way to pull off or to stop and execute in its tracks. There's no plant denial. There's no play from below that's really going to happen here. The only play that's going to happen from below appears to be on the hands of Mirage, as the 2 frag grenades from the Maverick will go up onto the floor and deal quite a bit of damage, but not enough for the kill. Speaking of damage, Zilchi ingests some over towards that classical hallway, and he will join the rest of his team over towards Study. They have the smoke locked down inside a vault, but they miss the shot. Dot out duels Zilchi. That's very poor aim on his part. So instead, you've got the Maverick closing ranks. He sees the Valkyrie that's loading with 3 kills for the series, or for the map, to push us to a 3rd map in this series. Loading will look to swing in.
Oh no!
But he misses his shots. Pistol out on the heels, 5 seconds, and he misses every single last one of them. It was for the W, but he stopped in his tracks. Dot Dash is able to beat the Maverick, and it's the very first round here on Villa for Altiora.
That was embarrassing. A lot of float there. A lot of... it's like that. Parker, you remember back when you started casting at the highest level, and NA had this like curse where they would come really close to a win, and then they just couldn't load it. They couldn't lock it out. It's like they were incapable. Remember that?
I do.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
It was like one of those moments there. I mean, that was a really easy kill on that smoke, and there were 3 separate moments there where the smoke should have died, and at none of those intervals did he die. And now a possibly flawless map is a 6-1. And Parker, we've seen 6-0s, we've seen 5-1s spiral out of control in the second half and go straight to OT before. I would not be terribly surprised if that happened here as well. I want to give a little bit of commendation to Mirage for, at the very least, focusing their efforts appropriately. After they lost their hard destructor, they realized, okay, we can't open any hard walls. Let's just, let's try to attack Aviator. They shifted their attack, and it almost worked out. It should have worked out. But boy, howdy, many potatoes were farmed by Mirage in that round. And Altiora is feasting as a result with their one round.
With their one round.
Woo! I don't know.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
Yeah. I don't
It's a feast of famine, and for the most part, famine, but one round of feast.
they're at least not starving to death. 'Cause they
It
will.
appears that they got. It's
Located by attackers.
A single potato. The one! And they turned it into a stew. 'Tis more like muddy water.
That's disgusting. But
Opaque water.
and how close did that round come, right? If that ends up being since this is the Candeli, if this ends up becoming the TSN turning point, then that really came down to a single bullet, and loading was just, man, you need to win those, right? Like, you can't let those escape you. And
Oh, he's got 14 kills, but yeah.
yeah, I mean, he's been doing great. I'm not trying to knock his output so far. I'm just saying that he probably should have been in better position. Now, lots of damage done, as loading is actually credited with the very first kill, but Altiora is very focused on this closet where everybody from Mirage seems to try to break on in. Silent's been down. He'll need to get picked back up, but they know how precarious a position this will be, as a toxic canister could end up killing him quite quickly. There goes one, and, well, it connects. Say goodbye. Still one toxic canister remaining as the finale for that member of Mirage, Silent, is met. Still 90 seconds left, but Altiora probably feel very comfortable about that, and Mirage going for broke through that closet window, not exactly the ideal strategy.
Yeah, this angle being played by Spirits is really what's been hampering the push by Mirage. They're not able to get past it. Now, the key to that is getting rid of the shield, but they haven't managed to do that just yet. The Wamai, of course, and the ADSs are really making this difficult. Again, another example of why Altiora banned Thatcher. Now, finally we'll get Spirits playing on the main wall. But look at this. 3v3, HP advantage, strong favor towards Altiora. They've got Zilchi on a whiff of smoke or a bullet's worth of HP. He'll die quite easily. So he's going to be very ineffective in future engagements. And all Altiora really need to do at this point is wait.
The other thing about Zilchi is that he'll be confronting all the smoke as loading falls to guns and the plant looks set to go down, but there's a nitro cell and Flynn will need to clutch in a 1v1. It's Dot versus Flynn. Holding this tight angle is the smoke. If Flynn doesn't look the right way, well, things are going to go from bad to worse. But he's getting that diffuser down. A pre-fire from Dot, the Type 89, and Flynn will rattle away. Some damage done to the smoke. 20 seconds left, and this will obviously benefit the attacker. Still tons of time. Flynn will rotate and head on over to the other bomb site, but there's a castle barricade, so he's going to have to come right back. 10 seconds left, and he knows that time isn't his ally this time. He'll be planting default and is relatively safe. Dot's going to have to throw out one of those toxic canisters. No, he's all done. Oh, beautiful execution from Dot. He reads that one like a book. Altiora will take round number 8. And it's technically their second round.
You know what he could have done there? He could have planted between the statue and the bomb chassis. And then he wouldn't have popped up after he finished his plant. Nice try there to Flynn, though. He put an effort in. Okay. Dot clutching up, and it's looking a lot like we're going all the way, Parker. It's looking a lot like Mirage are choking. I'm seeing it. We might go to OT at this rate if rounds keep playing out like this. A big part of it is the way that Altiora is setting up. They're doing some very unconventional strategies here. I like the strats that we're seeing from Altiora. I like the setups. I'm appreciative of the way they used that shield in that round. It was very detrimental to Mirage's attack. It's the same kind of story we saw on the first round of the second half earlier. Over and over and over again, Altiora are bringing out new creative ways to defend on this map, and I appreciate that. It is at the very least catching Mirage off guard and inflicting a significant amount of damage, to be sure. Now the question is, when will all that run out? Because if you're winning rounds just barely in 1v1s off of pocket strategy, When does that stop working for you? When does Mirage adjust for how you're playing and correct their mistakes, fixing the problem and winning the round? That's the scary thing, because Altiora has to pocket strat their way into 6 rounds in a row.
5 seconds left before insertion.
Not a lot of wiggle room.
Attackers are
Not a
heading
lot
out
at all.
to use a bomb.
And this is what you always find. And I know to most people it might seem quite obvious, but you can't let a single thing go wrong. That very first round on defense for Altiora, things almost go wrong, and you end up winning it. So I have to feel like there's a point of frustration at which Mirage is going to hit, and that could be the tilting point. Obviously, it's going to come when loading cools off. He has been superhuman all game, but especially over the last 2 rounds. I think he got a 3K in round number 2 or round 2 of their attack, and the very first attack, I think he got a 4K or a 3K as well. So obviously impressive stuff for him. He did break those double digits as I talked about. Sitting at 16 kills.
Yeah. Loading's
Not
doing
bad.
nuts.
And he's also doing it, if I remember, as their IGL. So
Oh, that was a really poorly placed shield. But yeah, impressive stuff for loading, if he being able to do as much as he has. And yeah, he did whiff that 1 round that could have won the match for his team, but you know, 16 kills, how much more can you ask from the guy? That's a cool angle, by the way. Opened up onto Astro window. Again, that shield was placed poorly because it could have been placed a little bit further back, and then the ADS would have protected it from the Ash charge, but that's not where Altiora put it. So, easy destruction there.
we knew that Type 89 working away for Flynn as he almost clutched on the previous round, and there's been some action. It looked like it was vertical play as the shot onto Dot hit him, but that was about it. And Dot in particular has done an excellent job over the last little while. Still, he and Mizio are carrying this team at the moment. Shima has yet to find the scoreboard on fragging rolls, and that's a problem. Not that we really want to draw attention to the fact that a certain player hasn't been the most effective, but you also want entry, by the way, from loading, but it seems like the call to action is met with very swift demise. There's one from Quartz and Flynn, and immediately a 2v2, as I'll pause my thought for just a second. Flynn has the diffuser in hand, and he'll need to go for it. As Shima enters in, he won't be able to get a kill just yet. Quartz looking to try and isolate guns with the match on the line. The map on the line, diffuser goes down, and the Vigil will need to find the 2 targets. He sees the head of Flynn, finishes him off, looking for the clutch, but he won't get it. Quartz shuts the door. No 6 in a row for Altiora. 7-2, the scoreline, and Mirage will steal Villa.
Big ups to Quartz for being the difference maker in that round. I was talking about lethality in map number 1 and the lack thereof inside of Mirage on their lineup. And Quartz was that lethality in that round. And he was, as I said, the difference maker. Huge clutch for him. And I am impressed by his ability to lock that one out for his team. But without further ado, let's bring Jackie back into the conversation so we can talk about our thoughts for that map.
Jackie, get in here.
Hello. Hey, I have arrived. Gentlemen. That definitely went differently than map 1. I heard you both saying that a 6-0 is very rare, and that was Altiora's map pick. So, Kicks, why do you think Mirage dominated on Villa like that?
I think it was partially due to the fact that they got defense first. They built up their confidence on those early wins. Mirage was doing pretty conventional stuff. They did some things particularly well, though. I really appreciate, for example, the way that Mirage held the top of main stairs. There were some very clever ADSs that were set up in a way that did not get burned by a simple stun through the door, but had to be thrown deep by the shield. And that's very smart. That actually managed to delay huge amounts of time, pardon me. And I think that once you get a snowball rolling in matches like this, it really starts to get out of control for your opponent. And I think Mirage did just that. Off some basic play, it's a very simple strategy. They managed to just get the 6-0, again, get that momentum in their corner. And even though Altiora had some really clever defensive strategies, it was too little too late there at the end.
All right, and I know we want to get into map 3 as quickly as possible. So, Antero, what are you expecting for map 3 on Cafe?
Well, I think Cafe is going to play out a little bit more structured like Villa does in regards to the way that it matches up against Villa and Oregon. Obviously, there's tons of fragging potential on a map like Cafe. There are lots of strats that teams can pull off by just barreling right through the prep doorway and seizing control of the front of kitchen/bakery. You can do the same thing with a skylight drop. We've seen it from teams. Amaru is very viable. It's possible that she could be used as well, though unlikely. If teams are very quick and very precise, as we saw out of Mirage, Mirage's attacks weren't as good as their defenses, but when you're defending on a map like Villa, things are going to go quite well. Mirage is going to be starting on defense yet again for Cafe. They had a sizable advantage on Oregon starting on D. They obviously ran it up on Villa. I think good things for them on Cafe, and if there's not a lot of downtime between these two maps, I worry for Altiora's mental state, as it definitely seems like Mirage has woken up, and another structured map like Villa, I would say probably tips the scales back in favor of Mirage.
Okay, well, Mirage has one map, Altiora has one map, but who will take map 3? We will find out. Map 3 Cafe coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now.
Final map between these two teams, and on the line is a spot at the North American qualifiers for the NA Major later this summer. It certainly seemed like Altiora had the upper hand through that Oregon matchup, but Mirage landing a better counterpunch and a bit of a wallop to the confidence of Altiora on map number 2. We'll set our sights now on Cafe Dostoevsky for map 3. And what are your immediate thoughts and reactions after that Villa matchup and what we should be expecting on Cafe?
So the most present thing in my mind is the fact that Mirage was able to gain some of that ever elusive lethality that I was discussing on attack. So, as mentioned, both of these teams have been struggling on attack. I would say certainly more so for Mirage, but in that last round especially, we saw Mirage just throw caution to the wind, put confidence in their peaks, and take the fights, and that was what was necessary in order for them to take that round. For example, the Russian from Sledge coming up from storage. That's really crazy. He shouldn't have gotten away with that, but he did. He got one kill. He won his 1-for-1, and that's big. Quartz coming in through the kitchen doorway, who ended up being the hero of that round. There were many engagements he shouldn't have won, but he put himself in the position and won them anyway, and that's what matters. I think that's going to be a big difference maker for this last map.
So confidence is obviously going to play a very large role, but what about the structure of a map like Cafe? The meta is obviously quite solidified on a map like Villa. Ditto on Cafe. Oregon, it's still very much up in the air. Do you think there's going to be any surprises, any twists and turns that either of these teams are going to need to confront head on?
Not especially, no. I think that what we've been seeing a lot from both of these squads is them just trying to find their confidence, find their assurity, and they're playing out their game plan as they've set up leading into this match. I mean, I've been impressed by Altiora's game plan on Villa especially. They had some very creative strategies. I like the way that they banned the Thatcher and set themselves up. But ultimately, again, too little too late. For Mirage, it mostly, again, their X factor, if you want to call it that, for this, or the thing that needs to be confronted head on is just Mirage's assurity in their ability when they take gunfights. I think if Altiora keeps their guns up, they'll have a better shot at winning a lot of these fights and thus a lot of these rounds. But without further ado, we'll get into the map. Mirage will be starting on defense, Altiora on attack, as it has been, I believe, through this whole series.
Yep, that's 3 maps of Mirage on defense, 3 maps of Altiora starting on attack, and obviously there was some thinking behind this because the teams get to choose their fate when they don't choose the map in regards to the sides. So, will this hinder Altiora? Will this be a major benefit for Mirage? Cafe does have a distinction of being one of the more friendly maps for the defense, so that could give Mirage an upper hand right off the bat. Capital will be the very first operator banned, and joining him will be a Thatcher. These are very standard bans on a map like Cafe Dostoevsky. Depending on where you are defending, Thatcher goes an awful long way towards disabling the defender's strength on those reinforcements. Kaid is often banned on this map because of what his Electroclaw is capable of doing. Not just on walls on the same floor, but also tucked into the floorboards and the walls above. So he can be extremely powerful. Thatcher's a great counter to that. With no Thatcher, Kali is an option. To a certain extent, Twitch is an option. Unlikely that we'll see either of them as the same we would see a Thatcher. It's likely just going to be a single Maverick. Taking quite a while with these bans, by the way, Michael, is after Capital and Thatcher, there's a Mira. And then last but not least, it's an Echo. He's been available. Hasn't been played today. We're finally going to get to see him. Banned, though.
So some amount of presence there for Echo. Interesting. It makes sense on Cafe. This is one of his better maps. I mean, he's generally universally good as an operator, but he's certainly very good on Kitchen in particular, as it's a site that you often find yourself forced off of as the defenders, and being able to indirectly deny that plant with those Echo Yokai drones is big. It's hard to throw smokes at that distance. It's hard to throw C4s at that distance, so you rely on things like Maestro and Echo. Now, speaking of downstairs, it will be the bottom floor first for Mirage. They're going to descend, and we'll see what they can pull out there. They have the Maestro, of course, who has been a big factor, actually, for Mirage through this series overall. Now, there's no real, set order to the sites, necessarily, on Cafe. You know, bottom floor and top floor, I think, are the two most prominent, pretty clearly. But those middle floors kind of get thrown in there interchangeably sometimes, and a lot of teams don't really care what order they're going to the sites in because they know what they want to do on each of them and they're comfortable there. So Cafe is one of those maps, I think, that a lot of teams feel very comfortable on any site, and that's I think that's what's part of what makes this a good map in many players' eyes.
I honestly, I go back and forth as to the reworks as to whether I like Clubhouse or Cafe more. Playing, probably Cafe. Watching, right now, probably Cafe, because I think in North America, the meta on Clubhouse is very played out in comparison to what we see on Cafe. Cafe still strikes me as being a bit more diverse. And like I said, this is a North American thing because I'm well aware that Europe tackles Clubhouse very differently than we see a lot of NA teams. And a big part of that is because Space Station obviously comes from North America. They have one of the most defining metas on that map, which is that roam setup that we've seen many times involving Vigil, Castle, Mute, Mozzie, etc. So, as we now look towards round number 1, it looked like we were going to see Shima just barge into the bomb site. Age shot the mute jammer as there's no fear for him over towards prep. Drones will come out in full. One will be on the flank as Mizio prepares to confront Small Bakery. And you'll have Quartz being met with the watching eyes of one of those drones if he ends up at the bottom of red stairs. He might just shoot a drone and back off, which would allow information to go into his hands. That's exactly what he does. He takes out one of the drones and then seems to shy away from an engagement on red stairs.
Bomb located by attackers.
I kind of wish that Shima had just decided to push him through prep. I feel like that would have been more interesting.
Some men just want to see the world burn.
Maybe that's me.
Maybe that is you.
He was silent and loading, though, who are holding above right now, who would have prevented that anyway. Would have been, like I said, very interesting, but probably would have resulted in his death. He might have been able to get one entry, though. Wall is opened up inside of Bakery, and that's what counts. He needed to stay alive because he needed to use his Ash charge to open up the soft portion of the wall after Maverick opened up the hard portion. Mission accomplished. There's a lot of things to destroy with that soft destruction right now. And luckily for Altiora, they've got a Zofia, an Ash, and the nades on the sled. So they, and even on the Maverick. So they should be able to get the shield. They should be able to get the Evil Eye as well.
Flynn is going to be under fire. They'd pinged that location earlier on, and that's a very common spot for Maestro to play, as he's essentially rendered invulnerable, as the only way to kill him is from the soft wall, or if he swings out as much as Flynn is doing. Spirits and Quartz have lost a little bit of HP, but other than that, it's a stalemate through 50 seconds remaining. Zilchi gets the opening pick. It's on to Guns, and Guns been very quiet on Villa. You're going to need a strong performance from on Cafe if you want to be able to hang with Mirage. Down goes Spirits to Quartz as the Jaeger had not been isolated earlier on, and it will be the undoing of Altiora, at least for now, waiting to see if somebody can get back in towards the bomb site from Quartz. Holding angles is Mirage. They're not giving a single inch. There goes a frag grenade. It'll go off, but won't find enough. One kill for Mizio, answered back, and there's an air jab to knock Quartz off. Waiting to see if you can swing on him. There goes a grenade in the corner. The Jaeger almost taking out Dot Dash. He and Shima very low on HP. 10 seconds left, and this is going to be awfully chaotic. 2v3, still winnable for Altiora, though it is grim. Plant going down by Dot Dash, and he's just going to get tasered away. The round goes in favor of Mirage. Flynn credited with that final kill, or rather, the Evil Eye, technically. Mirage is only 6 rounds away from being able to put this one in the books.
He's a fire in his laser, Parker.
I'm a fire in my laser.
Okay, so that weird round. So why is that weird? The reason I hate falling back on this, Parker. I feel like it's such a cop-out, but sometimes it really is just a case of a team losing their fights. So let me explain further what I mean on that. Mirage had a pretty bad setup. The way that they were set up was off-site, relying heavily on the Evil Eyes, and expecting a take into kitchen, right? You could see that was pretty clear. They had no one in kitchen. They were playing above. The above presence was really big. But the reason I would knock that setup is because they have no other way to deny a plant besides the Evil Eyes. So you've got your above presence, you got your Evil Eyes. Once the above's not dealt with, or if it doesn't have the angle, and the Evil Eyes have been destroyed, you have no way to deny other than rushing into the site. What I would have expected there to try and like really round that defensive setup out would have been one less reinforcement on the red hallway. And the reason I would have expected that is because then your main lobby presence, which Mirage maintained throughout the entire round, would have been able to influence a plant inside of kitchen, and you're not just funneling yourself into the site in a like a really dangerous rush. But it didn't matter because Altiora, with their ACOGs on the long angles, challenged and lost gunfights. That's it. I mean, they opened up the breach. They had prep control. They're peeking into sight, and they're dying to the site players. So
I gotta say, a lot of that sounds very similar to Villa. One round, I get it.
Yeah.
Don't write them off yet. Still lots of match to play. But similarly, what we saw in Villa was Altiora just missed gunfights. A lot of missed gunfights. Dot and Mizio were the only two players on Altiora that I would argue really spawned into the server on map number 2. Shima, Guns, and Spirits all well underperformed. You have to ensure that at least 2 of them don't this time. Because as good of a player as Dot is and as good of a player as Mizio is, they can't carry this entire weight. And right now, Mirage, even when they lost on Oregon, everybody still showed up.
Yeah.
On Villa, everybody showed up. Loading showed up the most, but all of them showed up. So far, consistency, I would say, is on the shoulders of Mirage. Altiora needs to find that, and they need to find it quick.
Another Thatcher ban means that these positions like Pixel Spot can waste a lot more time and utility. And let's take a look at that. Let's dissect what utility was just wasted. All of Zophia's lifelines, impacts and stuns. A whole set of stuns on Shima and one of his Ash charges. And then, I mean, they got the thing down. They got that shield out of the way. Took them half the round to do it, but they got it. And it took like, I think about half of their utility. But they got it. So good for them. Now Altiora need to execute onto the site. And they need to be able to use the remaining utility to effectively pick off players from the defense. I believe that's a... No, it's... Yeah, no, it is. It's a C4 from Silent that just missed there over by Mini.
I don't think Mizio realizes how lucky he is. His loading is technically credited with that first kill, though Shima's was much more impressive on the white stairs, not allowing Zilchi to be able to get on back. And that's the Wamai down. 1 minute left. That's about 2 magnets that you're not going to have at your disposal, depending on how many Zilchi had used before he was felled. Thrown on the ground, and this is what a miss! No, never mind. Silent just snaps right onto him, and Shima did not expect that one at all. What a beautiful shot from Guns onto loading, and the Maestro swings. I would imagine that's why you're asking why, and I'd have to ask it as well. Frag grenade tossed into the back freezer, doesn't connect. And now Altiora will need to take engagements with a bit more urgency. They'll do just that on the Quartz. And then Mirage finds themselves trailing. With Silent still isolated inside a bathroom, he'll have to get over towards Flynn as the stack up that's coming right now is over towards the A-bomb. Or rather, the B-bomb, apologies. 1 for Flynn, he'll need to find 2 more. The Buck unable to get through the freezer, being pinged away. And if Flynn doesn't see this, he's going to get pushed from Lumber. There it is, there it goes. Whatever you want to call it, lumber stacks, etc. Altiora, much more convincing on this particular round, and they get it.
A lot of puzzling peeks there from Mirage. I think at least 3 moments there, I'm looking at one of the players on the defense peeking and asking myself, sometimes out loud, why? Yeah, you're absolutely right. That was the question I was asking, Parker. I don't know what I just watched. It was really weird. The hard destruction well executed from Altiora. They got control of Piano. They had enough utility, I guess, to execute onto the site. They got really I think were confounded by the bottlenecks. They had a problem trying to push into the site for a good long while there. It looked like they were going to be held up. But unfortunately for Mirage, they started peeking. So anyway, I started peeking, and they lost a lot of bodies to that. I don't... I don't know why, Parker, because there was no plant attempt when those peaks were coming out. At least 2 lives were lost to over-aggression. Quartz inside of back bar storage, or BB... No, I can't say that, I guess. Back bar storage, and 1 by Cocktail. The Cocktail one possibly more puzzling, but Quartz extended himself more than he needed to, especially considering the back bar storage wall was open. I don't know, I'm puzzled. I'm puzzled by that decision-making process, or the decision-making processes from Mirage. Props to Altiora for landing the shots on the opportunities they were afforded, but they shouldn't have been given those opportunities.
I mean, the big head scratcher to me, yeah, was the not loading peak. Zilchi gets caught on white stairs. That's a long angle that the Ash was playing from Shima.
That too.
Perfect. I mean, Zilchi can't really expect that, right? Like, you've just got to have to try to get back to the bomb site as best as you can and hope that you do so intact. I mean, I think the Wamai could have obviously been a big difference maker. How many frag grenades did not get caught by ADSs or magnets in that round? It seemed like quite a lot. So some of that is on Altiora being able to clear away the utility, but also was on Mirage placing it poorly to begin with. I don't think there was anything inside a bar back store that we saw. I don't think there was anything that was over towards Cocktail, or at least by the Cocktail door into the back bar. So obviously, with the lineups that you're seeing get brought from the attackers, they have no real difficulty taking out the ADSs and magnets, so you have to be a little bit more careful about where you put them. And we just saw a great example of that as all of Shima's flashbangs just got dumped right in, and then whether it was orchestrated or not, loading walks right into the crosshairs of guns. Opening pick goes in favor of Altiora, and now they can start to get that 3rd floor under control while looking down below. As I say that though, Mizio gets dropped trying to run in from the top of red, and right back to even numbers, and most importantly, that is the Nomad, and air jabs gone from Altiora.
Got opening up holes in back bar storage. He'll be able to open the wall. Following the early pick, Mirage has to do extra work upstairs before they fall back. So that's pressure on Quartz, Silent, and Zilchi, who are playing on the east side of this top floor, to get something done. They needed either a refrag or to delay for a substantial amount of time. Now, the latter is more likely. It's very likely that this will just be a easy delay play for Mirage, but it's no guarantee, right? They could also just get picked off of this and finished, and the round could be over. It's all going to come down to the collapse from LTR and the timing therein. Nice shot there for Guns picking off Silent. We didn't see that one, but I assume it must have been. And yeah, okay. I guess the third option is what we're choosing this round. Spirits does get downed, and there's a lot of damage incurred on Altiora, but ultimately this is a 2v3 as Flynn's lands a C4 onto Spirits. That actually makes this much more winnable. There's no one in a position to... there's no one... Well, okay, never mind. I thought it was someone else getting C4'd. He was just finishing off the player inside of Engine. This is still very hard for Mirage to win in this scenario.
3 flashbangs, 4 guns, as he can drop them from the hatch or wherever he wants to push. Mirage is gambling on a white stairs take, but it doesn't appear that Altiora wants to go about that route. They're just going to go through reading room, which means that the member of Mirage who has to peek it is going to be in a heads-up gunfight with the Buck watching over top. Flynn tries to do a little bit of breakdancing, and he gets caught. Not the slickest of moves. A ping coming in, and the Ash able to just dodge away from the UMP. Shima, obviously with the advantage, pistol out, trying to outduel Zilchi. All that she needs to do is waste some time, and she'll do just that. As Guns drops and gets the very final kill. The Buck seemingly playing better so far through these 3 rounds, and Altiora takes the lead on Cafe.
Okay. That collapse upstairs was the reason Altiora took that round. Big job that. It's not easy to accomplish. Mirage should have been able to take 1 or 2 players with them as they were holding out upstairs. Probably more, to be honest. The way that it was being held there, I was imagining Mirage was probably going to either fall back off the top floor or, you know, inflict some sort of damage onto Altiora, but not so. It was a pretty easy and clean sweep for Altiora upstairs. Following that, it looked like a complete lockout. It looked like job done, mission accomplished for Altiora. They get the control. They concert their efforts onto pillars and a push into reading door. Smart. I like the way that they made it linear in those low man count rounds. That's obviously more ideal because you have to be worried about someone losing their 1v1 and then losing the round as a whole if you don't have people stacked up on each other. But still, I really lay that at Mirage's feet. They were set up well to repel a attack exactly like Altiora brought out, and they didn't.
10 seconds remaining.
This is what we had worried about for Mirage's sake and what could have been a quick 2-0, because you and I don't have any skin in the game, frankly. Neither of us are particularly chuffed by who wins, but we want a good showing. And I mean, if you see Altiora storm through map number 2, then, well, it's a bit deflating for the people that are watching and the story that comes from it, as we mostly cheer for the story. Obviously not ideal, but I mean, it would have been good dominance. We already would have been on to the Canada Challenger League matchup that is awaiting us once this one is finished. With that said, there had been some questions that we'd asked about Altiora's pace on Villa. They just stormed through Oregon. Would they be able to do the same thing on Villa, at least in the early rounds, especially given the fact that Mirage was once again starting on defense? The answer, of course, was no, but it looks like they missed the script to a certain extent, because now here you are, and it's Altiora in very good command. They are effortlessly just blowing through this utility, and now they'll be able to take out the shield, or at least you missed. No, spirits.
No.
That went so bad, so fast.
Oh no, it gets worse. Mizio gets run out on, and Mirage are looking like they're gonna bring this to even round count before anything even really gets started for Altiora. That's rough.
When it rains, it pours, and in this case, oh, it's pouring right now. That is just such a miss. Look at where it went. It hit the chair instead of hitting the shield, which is why you see the explosive on the ground.
It
must have hit like the pixel of the top of it. I don't know. Anyway, finally, Altiora is able to claim that deployable shield playing over by bench, and it'll allow them to take control of Piano. With that said, Zilchi has now fallen far back because he knows that he doesn't need to actively defend it. It might be a cocktail defense, but there's still a minute to go, so you do not need to gamble your life on holding Piano.
Guys, we got Piano. What did it cost?
Everything.
And they haven't gotten the Valkyrie cam. It'll be calling out to the players inside of Piano. Wall will get opened up, though, so at least there's that. Is there any soft destruction? Yes, there's Buck. So they can open the wall. Just need to rotate guns over now that it's been made soft. Ash would be able to use her Ash charges, but of course she's already expended all of those. So this should just be waiting for Mirage. And job done. Just a little bit of waiting. C4 missed, despite the information that Silent had from his camera. That's unfortunate. But it's not the end of the world considering the current man count. Gas canisters going out because why not? There's very little time left. Guns will entry, and he'll see Quartz likely in a few seconds, but Quartz is the one to win the fight. He'll move on to hold White, and beautiful job for him holding on to those angles. Dot is fending off a flank as well as a push from the site, and he's scared. You can tell by the way he missed that shot. Silent will clean things up, and Mirage take a flawless round.
He's shaking.
Yep.
He's shaking.
In his boots.
Shaking in his boots.
And not bacon.
No. Can't do bacon. Can't do it. Only shaking in his boots. No bacon. No.
Did you not get my reference?
What's shaken bacon?
No, shake and bake. Shake and bake. You don't know that one?
No, I know what shake and bake is.
Oh.
Yeah, I got it. But you said no bacon.
Right. Well, you said no shaken, and so I said no bacon because shaken, bacon, shake and bake, right? I just wanted to have them lined up in my head. Because otherwise they wouldn't line up, right? Because if I said no bake, right, then it doesn't work.
And defuse bombs.
I hate you and your references.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
I'm just kidding.
I'm shedding a tear right now.
Shake and bake.
Shake and bake.
Now, are you meaning like the type of breading that goes on the chicken, or are you drawing that quote from Talladega Nights?
Talladega Nights.
Of course.
Yes.
We once again land on a movie that we both know.
It's rare.
Cause for celebration.
Yeah.
Just as Mirage ought to be celebrating round number 4, they shore up their defense on Cocktail. Now, the question for you, Mr. Shake and Bake, what did you see as being the key difference maker? You can't talk about Zofia missing her explosive. What do you think is the key difference maker for that round over the previous cocktail defense that blew up in Altiora, or blew up in Mirage's face and gave Altiora the round.
The previous... Which defense? The bottom floor?
No, the cocktail defense.
Because, wait, oh, okay, hang on. Rush into the building here. Shima will get 2 big kills as he just throws caution to the wind, and he goes in with reckless abandon. Mizio will follow up as he takes down Silent. It's just Zilchi and loading, and, well, now just Zilchi. Shima just doesn't care. Spirits picks up the final kill, and Altiora take the round.
They actually ran right past Zilchi.
Yep.
That's the round. By the way, we didn't even get time to do that. It's already over.
Yep. You know, see, okay, that round right there, by the way, is what we saw a little bit of from Mirage at the last few rounds of the second half. Remember when they were just kind of running in and winning their gunfights?
Yes.
The reason why I've been so frustrated with this match is because for most of this match, both teams have had abundant opportunity to do just that and win rounds off of that, and they haven't. It's like they're playing scared, and I really have to hand it to Altiora for just, again, throwing caution to the wind and rushing in. Should I answer your question now from earlier?
Please begin.
So that was
Michael?
the last top floor defense, right? So for me, big difference maker is Quartz. He held down the white hallway and the back bar storage, and he should have lost both of those fights, really, or at least one of those fights. The fact that he managed to win both of them, I think really completely finished off the round. And certainly the round was won earlier by Mirage managing to delay so long in Piano, and for all the utility that was wasted by the attack inside of Piano. It should have been just done there, but I think that Quartz in particular was a standout for me, as he locked it out and he was sure of his play. That's of course not even crediting the 2 kills on Repel that Mirage managed in that last round. Last round.
Moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Well, there you have it, folks. Thanks so much for joining us. That's it. Michael just broke it all down.
Yep. We'll go home now as it's neither team to take the win. We're just going to end it here. It's been a long time.
They will be
so...
fielding a super team of 10 players.
Yes.
Because the real qualifier are the friends you made along the way.
Exactly. It's about the journey.
Anyway, it looks like it's going to be another kitchen defense and restraint from Altiora. And we say restraint because in the previous round, Shima was already in the middle of the bomb site and he got 3 kills. Walked right past Zilchi. Right past him. Didn't even need to look in his direction. 3 picks and he was, or 2 picks, he was off to the races, and then he killed Flynn, and Flynn was the freest kill that Shima's ever had in his life. As the smoke is watching the double door like, no, he just break in there?
Yeah.
What do you mean he's already in?
It's just like they're not expecting anybody to just walk into the building, and Altiora did just that.
I mean, we can make fun of rush strats for being like sloppy or brainless, etc., but that was really well played by Altiora. They very clearly determined that there was a weak spot in the defense that involved the back of kitchen. You can take that engagement, you can take that opening fight, and then just keep going. Because by the time the comms have come out that you've killed one of them, you can likely jump on the second. That's exactly what Shima did. And Shima, who had really struggled to get a kill in the previous one, I don't even think he got a kill in map number 2. Well, he's going to be pretty good this time. So far with 5, tied with Guns leading the team. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, Loading got downed because he was standing in the middle of a hole, and he got himself downed. If he had died there, that would have been really detrimental to Mirage because he's playing smoke and he can deny the plant. He's got 3 gas canisters. He's an integral part of this defense. And so his persistence, his existence is, well, important. So he needs to try not to die.
There's a toxic canister that aims for that prep opening, but it doesn't seem to do any damage as Shima is not bothering to fall off. So the Ash isn't susceptible to it. That is an unfortunate toss from Loading, who's now been droned out by Dot Dash. Technically, the first kill of the round is going to go to Zilchi. And this is the very final defense for Mirage. They have the upper hand for 40 seconds. Answered back is Shima onto Zilchi. So there you go. And a penny for your troubles as back to a 4v4. And Shima has not moved past that corner of prep for the last minute or so. We'll have to do so relatively soon as the round is ticking down and Ash can't just sit there like a statue. still trying to play on the angles and essentially wait for somebody to make a mistake. Looks like loading might, as there goes his life to Guns. He'd been involved earlier on and been picked back up. 20 HP was all he had. Back into the site is Silent. No diffuser going down, but a perfect toss, and it'll flatten Dot as Guns goes down too, leaving Shima in a 1v3. Swings onto the Maestro, but Flynn is conducting a symphony just as Battle Eye goes wild in the top right corner. And both of these teams will escape the first half even at 3-3.
I like the word you used there, Parker. Statue. I think that's a really good word for this match. So the execution, they got the wall open. They had, I think, a good opportunity. There was a lot of time where they could have done more vertical play, I think, that might have changed the round. For example, Mirage was allowed to play in the entranceway, right? Why? Why are we letting them play in the entranceway? There's no way. There's so many ways you could push the defense off of the entrance, the big double door into the site. And that never happened. Mirage played off of it for the majority of the round. A simple presence inside of main lobby would have nullified Flynn's position deep in sight. There was too much time spent trying to deal with that smoke, who was playing very unsafely in sight. There was a lot of standing still, waiting for the round to happen on the side of Altiora. And ultimately, their statuesque appearance was their undoing. Nice try, I gotta say, to Guns. I think he put in some big effort there, but just in general, I'd say that, again, I really don't think that Altiora knew what they were trying to do. And every time I watch an attacking round where the attackers don't know what they're trying to do, it just makes me scratch my head a little bit. It's like they have the idea, we'll get the wall open because they saw someone else do it. And then they're not sure what to do after they get the wall open, which is weird.
I wonder if it's a breakdown in comms on their side. It certainly seemed that poor comms was also a major hindrance of theirs on Villa.
Right.
And I mean, I obviously don't want to say that because then it's very easy for them to respond and say, no.
Yo, we were a point of comms. Well, we don't know.
Our comms were great. We just had no idea what we were doing.
We're working with what we got.
Yeah, so we'll just have to go off of it. And like I said, they obviously took advantage of poor comms or not quick enough comms as they hit that the maelstrom onto Mirage, just barging into the bomb site with Shima in round number 5. But both these teams I think have had issues being able to relay pretty basic stuff. And we'll see how it carries through now to the second half.
Can I just say, I think the thing like most apparent to point out here is that, oh, hang on. This could be lethal for Altiora. They could lose some players right now. I don't think that Ash Charge made it to its target. But this could definitely pick off 2 players if Mirage plays it well. If Silent in particular plays it well, but he's actually going to get off. Okay. Quartz will get Mizio, though, actually. Where was that? Is it... Back bar storage, long angle opened up. Mizio tries to peek over the shield and loses the fight with the advantage. Or either that or Mizio got shot from above because Quartz is on an upwards angle. Technically, he might just have the angle over the shield. Either way,
I don't know if this flash is going to hit, but they're very wary of the crossfire. There you go. Silent takes advantage of it, but Loading's nade blows him sky high. That is a comical error. Not ideal that you want to find yourself in. Dot will shrug off that frag grenade that gets tossed in. And then he'll now assume the position over towards Bench as he was playing behind that deployable shield. And a great drag down onto the head of Quartz will put us back to a 3v3. And they'll become even worse odds as Dot continues to just punish Mirage, saying that nobody and dare to enter through that piano door. Goodbye to Loading leaves Zilchi and Flynn now to try and take the lead. Beautiful shot from Zilchi onto Guns, read right through that table. The marks coming in from the Evil Eye or Bulletproof camera will be exceptionally troubling for Mirage as Dot looks to capitalize off of it. He's made his way all the way over towards the doorway to Cigar, and he will be very, very interested if there's somebody from Mirage on flank watch. Pump in hand watching the bar back store, but a great shot from Zilchi, and now it's all on relocating for Dot. He needs to get spotted and quickly from Mirage if they want to be able to turn this one around. There's a drone that might have just given his position away, still marks, but behind the reinforcement, the plant will go down from Flynn. The objective done successfully, and an air jab going off will alert Mirage of Dot's position. Hard to imagine the smoke being able to come out of this one alive, especially with the timer working against him. But he heads over to the top of White Stairs, and he pre-fires against a phantom enemy. Nobody's there except for Flynn, who's far enough back that he might as well be in a different area code. Mirage will take round number 7 in their very first attack to regain the lead.
Okay.
Wait.
What?
Mirage, it has regained the lead from round 1. I was going to specify, sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay, what was I going to say? Oh, right. I was going to talk about how... So when you watch... Generally, when you watch teams play, what you expect is the attackers to have a thing that they're trying to do, right? Like a job. And to like commit fully to doing that thing, right? So let's say, for example, I need to take control of Pixel because I need to disable the white hallway when I'm attacking under the top floor. Or maybe I need to do it with the guy in the bathroom. That's my job. Okay? Now, in order to accomplish that job, in order to achieve that goal, I will do whatever I think is necessary within the round to get that done. Sometimes there will be some pre-planned things. Like, for example, you're going to put 2 of your stuns to clear the ADS so we get the shield in the first place. And then you as the Zofia are going to entry, but you'll still have your impact that we can maybe use later on. So, you know, sometimes you know definitively I'm going to use this amount of utility or this amount of time to gain this amount of control. But generally speaking, there's a follow-up to that. There's an actual play make. There's an actual decision made by a player on attack who's like, okay, I'm going to commit to this push. I'm going to do this thing. It's going to get done now when they do it, right? And we're seeing that a little bit from Mirage. I think there's a little bit more of... There's 2 different ways that this assertiveness comes through. It's sometimes it's like inside of a team, inside of a strategy, inside of a thought process where it's all like it's well balanced and contained and clever and smart usually. And we're seeing that to an extent from Mirage. The only assertiveness we've seen from Altiora is in that one round where they rushed into the building. And I would say that's uncontained. It's the opposite. It's the other version of that assertiveness, that assurity in your play, in your peak, in your decision-making, where you know what you're trying to accomplish. You know your job that you need to do, and you're going to do it at all costs, and you try anything you can to get it done. So Mirage has a slight edge in that. I'm sorry I went on a bit of a ramble there, but I just wanted to get that point out.
I will tell you this. I've been listening to those rambling rants for almost 3 years now, Michael. And I don't get tired of them.
Thanks, Parker.
I've never gotten tired of them.
Hey, doing something right.
So you can keep going. Anyway, there's a small opening created as this is going to be a kitchen defense. No longer kitchen bakery, as we still call it, and fall back on old habits. That frag grenade from loading actually looked like it missed. Its target is Dot Dash playing behind the A-bomb. And there goes another. I don't know exactly what that was the sole goal. They were trying to get the bandit batteries on that one. I know that much.
Yeah.
Quartz will once again get the lead-off kill for Mirage as the wall gets opened up in the front of Kitchen. So Mirage is basically everything going for them. And now with the breaching charges in hand, you can start to open up those floors, which is what the IQ is doing. That inability for defenders to play in the spots they want to play in will get worse before it gets better. And we'll see how much more of that map control can be established by Mirage on the second floor.
This top floor, yeah, as you mentioned, is going to be probably the major difference maker. Zilchi needs to move. And now that he has... This angle can be opened up to disable that entranceway. Remember when we were talking about how Mirage was using this position to great effect on defense of the kitchen? Well, now Altiora won't be able to. Loading is also going to take down one. Dot, though, will eliminate Silent. Now, the red hole being, or red wall being opened up is big, because this is what we talked about Mirage making a mistake on. They needed to open this angle so they have more control. Now that it's open for Altiora, they're able to effect some change on the site. There's that entranceway being disabled by Quartz from above. The plant going down now by Flynn, and it's perfectly covered. Altiora only have one player alive, and that's Guns. He's going to get one kill. Needs to find 3 more. Luckily for him, he's got full HP, and these last 3 attackers are low on HP, so he'll pick up another kill. But that is a lot of damage that Flynn just did to guns, and as such, the clutch potential is very low. 30 seconds to find 1 above and 1 inside a bakery, but he doesn't know that. He can only guess. He must have heard those footsteps. Gas canister goes into bakery, though, and he wide swings in an attempt to throw it. Loading will lock that up, and Mirage take another attack.
Honestly, I think Altiora might be getting a little bit too aggressive on the way that they peak. I think both of those rounds showed just that. And as much as we knocked Mirage for it through the very first 6 rounds of this map, I think that Altiora is committing it too. And I think it's only fair to note it. Now, I get it. You've got a couple players who are playing quite hot. Shima has woken up. Guns, to a certain extent, has woken up. Allow them to maybe take those duels against Mirage. Why not? But with the way that Mirage is playing, they are exceptionally structured on attack. This is the best attacking sample that we have seen from Mirage so far today. Their Oregon attacks were okay. Their Villa attacks were fine, maybe a little bit better than Oregon. Some of those Oregon attack rounds were downright ghastly. But then you look at Cafe, and so far, Mirage's drone work and entry has been excellent. How quickly they were able to get that second floor. Quartz gets droned in the very first attack round and then followed up in that second attack round. And both times Quartz gets droned in and is able to locate and prioritize which target he wants to take. And then without missing a beat, that drone work continues and Quartz is able to begin putting down those breaching charges. Not Loading did some work while Flynn was on drone. Flynn manages to open up one portion of the wall, then Flynn goes right back onto drone and is able to guide in Loading, getting the marks on the defenders that are playing over by the B bomb and deeper into kitchen than by the A bomb, the range, etc. This was Mirage really firing on all cylinders for both of those rounds. They knew what they wanted to do, they knew how to attack it, they knew how to exploit the weaknesses in Altiora's defense. And it is kind of strange because it seems like they've almost counter-stratted Altiora's Ds, but Altiora hasn't played this map yet. So how can you counter-strat a team unless you're scrimming them, which I think is unlikely given that you usually don't scrim the teams you play directly against. I just wonder if Altiora is playing more of a standard style defense for what Mirage is used to, and the limited variation is allowing Mirage to just stick to the plan and prosper.
Certainly possible. I think that, again, it comes down to Mirage's ability to be assertive in their gunfights. It comes down to their lethality when they peak, when they are committed to actually taking a fight. They're actually expecting to win the fight, and they play as such. We're seeing a lot of whiffs on both sides. Certainly more on Altiora, though. And a big part of that is confidence. I mean, at a fundamental level in Siege, confidence plays into how you play. And it's more so than in some games. The reason being is that in this game, you have a substantial amount of peeker's advantage. And it's compounded by the fact that you can be perfectly accurate while still moving. So, peaks like that, for example, also giving away a lot of easy picks for the attack. Well done to Quartz.
Again and again and again.
Yeah, it keeps happening.
3 times it's the Kickstar charm, I'm telling you. And that time he was droned in and he knew exactly where to hold. Very well done. Now he'll go on to drone before meeting a mute jammer that's played upstairs by 90. Zilchi could have shot that, but
yeah,
Quartz will get it himself. Again, not great. And now Loading is going to take some damage after he blows up Silent. This is the second team kill. Those frag grenades from Loading are too dangerous. Take them away from him. It also looked like Silent was ready to breach into the bomb site. That could have been particularly good for Mirage, and match point is Mirage's if they win this one. So that's a bad loss to suffer on their end.
No picks off that for Loading. He actually takes some damage, but Quartz is opened up from above, so he's going to do a lot of work there. Now, this is going to be much the same story as the last time we were here. Oh no, information possibly, but he's missing by inches. Oh no, no damage done, but finally he gets Shima. Beautiful job to Quartz. Awareness of the angles works out for him there. You can tell Shima was on camera. He didn't know what was happening until it was too late. Flynn going for the plant, and while Spirits manages to get one, there is a quick response from Zilchi. It's all Spirits now pushing into the site as Mizio is trying to support from afar. This could actually be a big play if Spirits able to get these kills. He gets one more onto Flynn. He needs to find 2 attackers. It looks like both of them are set up above. At least Quartz is. Zilchi's playing by the red staircase. He can do some work from here. At the very least, deny the push up red stairs, which allows Quartz to continue to deny the disable of the diffuser. There's only 20 seconds left. It takes 7 seconds to disable that diffuser, so they need to get on ASAP. But as Mizio goes down, it's all on Spirits, who gets his 3rd kill, but he won't have time to get a 4th and disable the diffuser. Zilchi locks that one up. Mirage takes the round, and they are looking absolutely on fire. Now, sometimes it takes Mirage, it seems, a little bit of time to stoke the flames, but once they get it going, boy, does it roar.
No, Stokes is a caster for US
Oh
Division.
my god. Duh. Oh, I should have seen it coming! I should have known! Why didn't I know?
3 rounds on attack so far for Mirage, and all of them, they got the opening duel and the diffuser at the same time. Good fragging play, good objective play. This is almost as strong as they looked on defense on Villa. I would actually say that this is stronger. That one round obviously coming down to a 1v1 with Zilchi upstairs. There's no way that you're going to be able to outduel Zilchi when you're in that spot. You're going to have to be firing through the metal. You don't have the advantage. It's a real rough spot to find yourself in. And the one thing about Mirage that wasn't so noticeable the first time they attacked Kitchen on round 8, the second time that they attacked, the second floor breaching charges are not just being used to push the defenders into positions where they want to attack them, but those breach charges are also being done to cover the diffuser. A lot of people don't actively think about how those breach charges can be that effective. The moment that the diffuser went down, Quartz had not left train, period. He was still in there. Zilchi rotated upstairs because they knew that A, he could watch red stairs. Somebody had to do it because that was the most likely path that they were going to confront Quartz on. And B, Zilchi could then sub in if required. And that's exactly what happened. Quartz probably shouldn't have died, but some very sloppy gunplay on his end got him killed with just a fraction of HP left on his adversary from Altiora. But it left Zilchi in a position where then Zilchi couldn't lose. The moment that diffuser went down and Flynn died and enough time had been wasted, which allowed Zilchi to get upstairs, the round was essentially over. And obviously, when you look at the stat line from the attack so far, Mirage have been phenomenal. They're on match point. 3 rounds for Altiora to try to push this one to overtime. Is it likely? Right now, doesn't seem like it. Seems like Mirage is in control.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Well, they are in control, at the very least, of the top floor. They're going to open up that drop. And really, yeah, no, the match as a whole, too. I mean, it's a pretty clear-cut scoreline right now. It's not looking like there's a whole lot of chance right this second for Altiora. They seem to have really fallen apart after one after another attack round going the way of Mirage. There hasn't seemed to be very much. Again, I'm using the word assertiveness, just to be assertive in something a lot here. But that's the weird thing, because there's a strangely large amount of, I guess, passiveness on both teams. Again, Mirage, I think, has really started to be in control of their own actions. But I at least still for Altiora, I'm seeing a lot of just play that makes me think they're not sure what's happening. Mizio is going to get picked off by Silent, speaking of. So early pick for Mirage, and that's the pulse of all operators. That's your primary information op in this scenario, gone. And now you won't have much information to play off of if you're Altiora. With 45 seconds left, that's okay. And Shima also being eliminated, that's not boding well for your overall chances in the match. There's a third for Mirage as Zilchi gets Spirits, who's peeking in Cocktail. This looks all but unwinnable now for Altiora.
They haven't given up, but it certainly just looks like Altiora have. They're just feeding themselves. At this point, they had the intel on Zilchi. They aren't able to do anything with it. They're just walking into their death. A very exposed Flynn is going for the plant, but the UMP is only good enough for one. That's the game! Mirage takes the series 2-1, and with it, they will finish first in the Canada division through this stretch. And because of that, they'll be playing in the NA qualifiers. And as Quartz said, you don't get to see it on your screen, but it said, that's all about the charm. Thank you, Kicks. So Obviously, I told you, Quartz was doing well because of the Kickstar charm.
We did it.
Did we get Flynn to 10K, by the way? I haven't looked. Did you get Flynn to 10K followers on Twitter? It really helps him out.
I'll check
Please
for
help
you.
him.
Let's see. He is at 9.993. So he's
So 7 of you.
7 away. He's
All
very
7 of you
close.
go follow Flynn on Twitter. We'll bring Jackie Jing in to talk about that matchup.
Hey, Jackie.
I follow Flynn, so come on, y'all. Oh, wait. Oh, my gosh, I don't. Do I not
Oh,
follow
no.
him?
Jackie.
Okay, I just followed him. I'm sorry. I thought I did. I'm going to be honest. I think I did follow him, and then he didn't follow me back, and I low-key was a little upset about it. So I unfollowed him. But I followed him because Intero has been asking so kindly. He is now at 9,994. We'll see if I get a follow back. Moving on. Wasn't expecting that. Anyways, okay, let's look forward, gentlemen. Kicks, Mirage has to prep for some powerful U.S. division teams. What do you think that they need to focus on moving forward?
I think that they should focus mostly on finding their own identity. One thing that I noticed a lot by the way that Mirage played there is it seemed like they were playing out some plans that they assumed would work well for them when it mostly got salvaged by the actual gunplay of Mirage. And leaning on gunplay to account for holes in your strategy, whether it be on attack or defense, is risky business. You want your gunplay to be tip-top, of course. You want it to be pristine, but you don't want to have to lean on it, as I said. Like that round you just watched in the replays, Zilchi clutching up there. That's not a guaranteed result. And I think that if I'm Mirage, again, I'd be mostly focused on finding my own strategic identity so that I'm sure of every action I commit to.
Intero, what improvements do you think Mirage needs to make?
I mean, they need to find their footing in the early game. They struggled really hard against Nordic and map number 1 in what probably could have been a 2-0 after, especially what happened in map 2 and map 3 in their very first matchup. Same thing happened here. Flynn obviously very excited by that. Oregon was quite decided in favor of Altiora, but then after that, honestly, they're 5 rounds over the next 2 maps for Altiora. It was just utter domination from Mirage. They look like the most coordinated team right now in the Canada division. They're playing with good confidence once they settle in. I don't know what kind of jitters they have in the early goings, but if they can smooth those over, we'll have to see how well their strats stack up against the mid-tier of US division.
And both of you have been very candid while you're casting and pointed out some flaws that you have seen with the teams. I do want to ask you, real talk, how do you think they're going to fare at the NA Major Qualifier? Kicks, I'll start with you.
Very poorly. I imagine that it's going to be a really tough match for them. I imagine that the only chance that they're really going to have, for me, on the load, on the lead into it, is probably just to rely primarily on their own individual abilities. There's not a lot of time. And that prep that's going to go into that, I think is going to take more time than they have right now. I don't think that this is I'm not trying to be hostile or combative here. I just think I want to be a little bit realist on this. It'll take some time for the Canadian division to really mount up, and I would love to be proven wrong. Don't take my what I'm saying wrong here. I would love for them to go into the qualifiers and do amazing and everyone to sing their praises, but it doesn't work like that. It will take some time for these players in Canada to really solidify their position and build up their confidence. And I, for one, am very excited to see that again because it's been a long time. We saw that back in early days for North America when competing against Europe, early days of LATAM when competing against North America and Europe, early days of APAC when competing against all those three. And you're always going to have that kind of gap when a division is new, a region is new. So I'm happy that we get to see that again, and I'm looking forward to seeing how much the Canadian division can learn out of their first experience at that kind of competition.
Okay, and obviously, Intero, you made a little face there. We love Kicks. We love his honesty. I think he is being quite honest. How do you feel about it?
I think the same thing. We talked about this in the very first play day a couple weeks ago, where any new region Which this is a new region. You've never had an all Canadian team try to climb the ranks through Pro League. The closest I guess that we had was Ominous back in the day, and even then that was largely on a technicality because of one of the players' ethnicities that they'd listed on their ESL page. But I mean, the focus for the Canada division for the very first season shouldn't be to take on the Titans. It should be to smooth out your own strategies, gel with your team, and find yourself in a position where you can grow. Kicks hit the nail on the head. When LATAM first entered a global scene, they weren't very good. APAC, when they first entered from a global scene, they weren't very good either. But LATAM has won a Pro League finals. They almost won the World Championship earlier this year. They're a great region. It's very possible that the Canada division can get there as well, but it's certainly not happening in the next couple weeks. But I mean, this is a great learning experience for them, and I really genuinely hope that they take the opportunity and they learn from it.
Takes time.
All right, well, gentlemen, yes, takes time. Hey, flexing the watch there, Kix. I see ya. He is a avid watch collector, kind of like Intero is with his grandpa glasses. But I digress. So let's see if Flynn got to 10,000 followers. He is on deck right now. Flynn, how you feeling? Congratulations, 10K. Congratulations.
I hit 10K today.
How you feeling, Mr. Flynn? You hit 10K. Intero was pushing for you. By the way, I followed you and you didn't follow me back, so I unfollowed you. But because Intero has been so just pushing for you hard, I followed you. So we'll see if you follow me back, Flynn. That's all I'm going to say. I'm watching my Twitter closely now. But
yeah, absolutely, Jack.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd
Well,
follow
I'll be
you
watching.
back. I'm really bad with Twitter, so you wouldn't actually imagine the number of events I've gone to and had multiple people come up to me and say, "Hey, I follow you on Twitter. You don't follow me back." I'm just really bad with it, and I do
rude.
apologize to everyone I've ignored.
It's fine. I will forgive you because you got this awesome victory. I do want to talk to you about that. Like, how does this feel? You must be so excited. You clinched the spot to go to the NA Major Qualifier. Talk to me. What's going on in the head? What emotions are you feeling?
Well, to steal a quote from Gary Bettman the other day, talking about the return to play for the National Hockey League, this is the end of the beginning. This is where we expected we would be. This is where we wanted to be. This is where we had to work to get to. And, this is... I heard Michael and Parker talking away about how we're not going to have a chance. And you know what? That's everyone's sentiment. No one's going to think we have a chance. We're a brand new region and a brand new team, but only upwards from here. We knew we wanted to be number one. We knew we had to be number one. And this just feels like vindication. And it's... we got to stop playing Oregon. That's harsh in my vibe, though, in all these wins.
Well, I'm glad to hear you're being so positive. I did want to ask you, what is your team's focus now, knowing that you will compete in the NA Major Qualifier? I mean, what are your goals now as a team?
So our goals heading into the NA Qualifier, obviously, we're going to be the underdog heavily. I don't recommend anyone put any money on that game because it's Dark Zero off rip. So it's a very challenging game. We know it's going to be challenging. We know it's, cards are stacked against us. But, we're a team that clearly loves to come back from throwing away the first map. So I guess, if Dark Zero does end up getting that first map away from us in that first game, I mean, I guess we've proven we have the resolve and the resilience to bounce back.
So, it sounds like you're being hopeful, but you're being realistic. I mean, do you think you could win the major spot? Just be candid with me.
I do. I believe it. I've seen where this team can be. I've seen what this team has done against other pro teams. Granted, scrims are nothing like game day, and we are well aware of that. I think there is a chance. I think to completely write us off would be asinine. It would be foolhardy. Like, we have a chance. We know we have a chance. We got to put the work in and see if we execute on game day.
It's Siege. You never know, right? Well, Flynn, congratulations, and thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Have a good night, guys.
Better follow me back, you meanie head. Anyway, back to my casters here. Y'all got him to 10K. I'm sure he's super excited about that. But now we have our Corsair play of the day. Gentlemen, any guesses?
It's probably going to be one of the Guns 4Ks, but I don't know which one is Bandit from Oregon.
Yeah, he had them almost
Okay.
back to back, so probably.
Roll the tape. Let's see what it is. The Corsair play of the day is...
Oh,
Oh.
okay. Well, I mean, it's Dot's.
Oh, this was pretty good, yeah.
It was a good one.
That was solid.
It was a
That
good
was
one.
solid.
I don't know the guns play on Oregon. I think probably both those rounds back to back. I think those broke Mirage, frankly.
Yep.
Yeah. Guns.
This was
had some
like, don't
pretty
get me
good
wrong. I don't
stats
want
there,
to
so.
I don't want to speak poorly of
The Corsair play of the day
I don't want to
in
speak poorly
Tarot.
of
Come on.
Mason. We're friends, so I can call him that. By the way, his name's
Oh, okay.
Dot. I don't want to speak poorly of him, but that was a great clutch, but it was very routine. You know, I've seen him do.
Yeah.
I've seen you do crazier things, Dot. I've seen you do
Okay.
crazier things.
Yep.
Do better, Dot. That's what Intero's telling you. Anyways, let's get to our bracket now and break it all down. Intero, I'm gonna put you in the hot seat. Recap today and the Canadian division for everybody at home.
Okay, well, today, Mirage lands themselves in the very coveted first overall spot. They get a nice chunk of change, and on top of that, they get to represent their region/division at the NA qualifiers as they'll go up against 3 teams from the US division. How did they get here? Well, they had a slow start against Nordic, dropped map number 1, and then stormed back with 2 uncontested maps. Same thing happens with Altiora. They struggle in map 1, they win map 2 and 3 in much better fashion, and they punch their ticket to the qualifiers. Altiora proving that they are very much the real deal, and that even though it was a 2-1 over Livid, the lowest ranked team in Canada, or at least the Canada division, I'm sure there's probably worse teams in the country, Altiora proves that they are very much worth their spot. And they're going to go up against Nordic Esports to see who finishes second and third for posterity, as well as a greater cut of the prize pool. Livid, unfortunately, they've only won 1 map there, which is good for dead last. They and Mirage's spots are locked in.
All right, well, again, a big congrats to Mirage. That wraps up everything for the Canadian division today. Flynn followed me back. Awesome. So he's in my good graces now. But coming up next, we have the Challenger League. A lot of great competition ahead. So do not go anywhere. We'll be back in a flash. See ya.